Target acquired. Target acquired. Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. Wing the Ultimate Nug with 10 bits says, remember to donate your blood. Blood banks need as much blood as they can get to feed the secret vampires. Very true. So welcome to another stream, everyone. I'm late today, I apologize. So yeah, let's get to it. Today we're going to be doing a Chatter's Choice stream. Sorry, I forgot the name for a second. So, chat is going to give me suggestions for what kind of things they want me to cover today or want us to cover today, and then we will vote on it. So, what do you guys think? Altered Rin has a link. Bible prophecy, Obama and Joe Biden will cause the American end times liberal apocalypse. Okay, we got that one as a choice. We have incels and UBI. Okay, let me write these down. Let's just call this first one Bible prophecy. And this second one we'll call incel UBI. There's something about vampires. America's Vampires.
By Irish author Bram Stoker.
Okay. Vampires. Dudes spanking dudes with 10 bits. I got an idea for a stream dedicated to watching political ads. Trump's and Biden's home. Oh, maybe. That would get frustrating for me. Egyptian military propaganda video. Okay. Egypt military propaganda. Then Wing the Ultimate Nug has one. We'll just save that for a cleanse. And then we have bad shoplifting PSA. Okay. Is there anything else for this initial vote? So I don't even know if all of these are going to fit on the thing. Let's do a poll to decide what we do first. You'll be able to recommend stuff later, too, because there'll be multiple polls.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Bible prophecy. Thank you. I'm addicted for another 100... no, something else. Hold on, I can't see the chat. Cascadian93, thank you for subscribing. 2-month streak. Nice, thank you. Incel UBI. Vampires. Egypt military propaganda. Shoplifting PSA. Okay. Sorry if there's any, okay, vote on this poll. What video do you want to watch first? Sorry if there's any typos. I was typing them as quickly as I could, and I wasn't really paying attention. I don't know how to do polls on mobile. I'm sorry. MMO addicted with 100 bits. Also a potential source of the whole laxatives thing, at least part of it. This menstruation PSA shills contraception as the only reason of pain and cramps during that time. What? Okay, we can take a look. What's winning? Oh, Bible prophecy. Okay. Cool. So we have Bible prophecy winning out. Okay. Bible prophecy's gonna win.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Alright, I guess it's Bible prophecy time. Thank you, Dregory Term, for subscribing. Hello. Thank you for the 3 months. So Bible prophecy. Bible prophecy won the poll.
That's right, capitalistic propaganda.
Ian J. Cooper, thank you for following. Bible prophecy was the winner, so let me cross this one off the list. And we can watch this. This is from a channel called Bible Prophecy and New World Order Agenda Exposed. This is probably a channel I'll end up bookmarking after this video. Let's see what they have to say about end times prophecy and how Obama and Joe Biden will bring about American liberal apocalypse. I don't know why Obama is involved, because he served his 8 terms. Interesting that he served 2 full terms as president, but didn't enact the end times. That was just a side project. But now that Biden's gonna be president, maybe, now is the time to pull the trigger on the apocalypse. Anyway, let's go ahead and watch Bible End Times, how Obama and Joe Biden will bring about American liberal apocalypse. Ooh, hype train. Nice. Is he supposed to be talking? Because I don't hear anything. It's just ominous pictures.
Hello and good morning. I don't want to make this video too long, okay, so I'm not going to sort of wrote it out, but try to condense the information. When Obama became the president, what's interesting is everybody heralded him to be the Messiah.
No, they didn't. A lot of people liked Obama, myself included at the time, because I was much more liberally than I am now. Now I'm very lefty. But, like, a lot of people liked Obama for a lot of reasons. He was a charismatic dude. He was competent. He was intelligent. And on top of that, you did have the whole thing of him being, you know, the first black president, which is important whether or not you like the guy. So that would be why people liked Obama. People, like, for the most part, weren't like, oh my god, Obama, you're gonna be... I see that a lot with Trump, and I'm sure there were people who supported Obama who were, like, way too in love with, like, a politician, which I find to be a bad move regardless of who you're talking about, whether it's Obama or Trump or Bernie Sanders. If you put all your hopes of change on one politician, you're very stupid. Don't do that. But I see that a lot with Trump. I see a lot of really, really, really hardcore Trump supporters, and I see it more often than I saw with Obama. Like, I can't tell you. Baja Blast and I were driving yesterday. Was it yesterday? We were driving Saturday to my electrolysis thing. We didn't actually get the thing done. It was just talking with the electrolysis and answering questions and stuff. My first appointment's actually later next week, so I'm very excited. But that aside, going through the middle of nowhere, Michigan, there are, like, people who not just have Trump signs, but they, like, have Trump flags and stuff. It's so weird. Don't do that for a politician, people. It's not worth it.
He was going to bring blacks and whites together. He was going to create, make America great again.
What? Is this guy confusing Obama with Trump? Because it really feels like he's confusing Obama with Trump.
Let's use the Republican
Nothing funny about
mantra.
the tools of
I mean,
capitalism.
Obama was going to make America great again. How was
His slogan was hope. It was hope. Andrew Dickerson with 10 bits. Hannah, I know Vampires isn't going to be up for a while, but this was Vampires video I wanted you guys to watch. I think if it's the same one that got sent earlier, then I already have it. Oh, God. Okay.
he going to make America great again? He was going to build the economy and make America prosperous and bring unity between black and white.
Who said Obama was going to bring unity between black people and white people? No one said that. What are you talking about? And again, I have plenty of criticisms for Obama, but he inherited, like, a ridiculous economy that crashed almost immediately and then had to work for 8 years to pull America out of the recession. Like, again, tons of stuff to criticize with Obama. That's not one of them.
However, he did no such thing. Because Obama, what he did, his purpose, his mission, was to destroy the very fabric of American values.
That's right, capitalism
Please,
propaganda.
continue. Thank you. What was that? I heard a thing go off. Thank you, Pseudo Sapien, for hosting.
and that was to promote identity politics and push the aggressive LGBTQ agenda.
How, what does that mean where it's like how people think of LGBT people and it's like a really buff, like soldiered up person, and then like how they really are and it's like, human whites, please. Like the aggressive LGBT agenda of being able to marry someone you love and exist in public spaces. The horror. The absolute horror. Goth Geek Gaming, thank you for hosting with a viewer. Thank you.
To such degree that now, not only in America, funny enough, but in Britain, you have, what do you call it, LGBT sex education for kids.
Right. Like, they're not literally telling you, like, hey, kids, you should go, have intercourse with people of the same gender, because it's way funner than the straight kind. No, it's about the fact that there are LGBT youth, and, like, if you're gonna get involved with sex, then it's a good thing to vaguely know about it. They aren't giving a conference on how to... I'm not gonna say the things I want to say. I would imagine it is a emphasis on safety, on safe sex, and hey, even if you're not in a situation where someone might get pregnant, you still need to use protection for a variety of reasons. You can still catch, you know, STIs and stuff like that. Make sure you use lots of lube. Like, these are things that are fine. It's fine. If you're already teaching sex education to kids, it's a reasonable thing to also recognize the reality that some of those kids are gay or lesbian or whatever.
And if you look at some of the things that goes on in the so-called LGBT sex education, where kids are taught to fondle themselves.
What are you talking about? And yes, the right likes to show kids at prides where people are naked. I've never understood the naked thing at Pride. I really don't. I wish that wasn't a thing people did. I think it's, at this point in 2020, an outdated concept. And I kind of understand, historically speaking, the idea that, like, oh, we're being radical. We're going to take radical action. We're going to do certain things. Even though this is blurred, I'm gonna skip ahead from that part, just in case. But, like, we're in 2020 now, guys. Like, a lot of people bring their families to Pride because, you know, in a lot of ways, we've made great strides as a community. Both, like, gay, lesbian, trans, bi, you know what I mean? And people bring their families to these things. Come on. But either way, teaching kids to fondle themselves, that's what you're saying. I didn't have any sort of LGBT sexual education in my school, but even in sex ed, they talked about masturbation. Like, sex ed, if it's comprehensive sex education, is going to talk about masturbation. That has nothing to do with LGBT stuff. Cascadia93 with 15 bits. How have those types of people not changed their argument for 40 years? Harvey Milk happened and Christian groups came up with one argument. I swear to fuck, I hate boomers. Same. Wiki Kid Ways with 10 bits. Why does he look like he's wearing a bad wig? It's probably, you know what, it's the camera. I don't know how do people in 2020 find cameras that look this bad? It feels like you'd have to make a concerted effort to be like, where's my camera that I've had sitting around since 2005? Just seems difficult, you know?
And you have trans who are stripping in front of little 3-year-old girls. This is what the...
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Yes, regularly, I, as a trans person, go out and I find children for absolutely no reason, and I just, no. This is not a thing that happens. What are you talking about? The Flower Girl 13 with 100 bits. I figured masturbation out long before I had sex ed. Yeah.
Liberals.
Most people do. Not everyone, though.
Have done to Britain and America. And you wonder why Britain and America will be destroyed. You give over the land to these mentally ill liberals who self-identify themselves to be frogs, to be camels, to be giraffes. You could be...
Haha, it's the one joke, except he's taking the one joke seriously. Identify as an attack helicopter. No, that's actually not. And as insightful as you might think that is into the trans community, it's not.
There's
So
nothing funny about
maybe
the tool of
talk to a trans
capitalism.
person once in your life. That'd be good. Towing24 is this dude's regular job as a Rick James impersonator. Antipodian Squid with 10 bits. There were really
There's
young
nothing funny
kids at
about
this
the
year's
tools of
LGBT plus
capitalism.
Sydney Mardi Gras. It's why they put all the kink floats at the end at like 11 p.m. after the families have taken the little kids home. People know kids go to pride parades and organizers protect them from the things that they don't want to see. Yeah, or shouldn't see.
There's nothing funny about
Wicked
the tools
Ways
of
with 10
capitalism.
bits. It's Wicked Ways. Did I say it weird the first time? I apologize.
Whatever you want to be, then you will watch your nation crumble before your very eyes. And this is what Obama did. Obama pushed the LGBTQ agenda.
He didn't really. That's the thing. Even, like, remember, I think it was during Obama's Senate race. He talked about, like, and he towed the line at the time, the centrist line that was, I think marriage should be between a man and a woman, which is ridiculous that even so shortly ago that was a thing, that
There's nothing
people,
funny
even
about the
people
tools
who
of
were on the left, espoused center left. I'm talking Americans, you know, America's political powers that be left, not actual leftists. But yeah, and then Obama, when he got into office, over the 8 years he was in office, public opinion on gay marriage and gay rights in general changed quite a bit. Like, a lot. By the time Obergefell v. Hodges happened, the majority of people in the country were in favor of allowing gay people to get married to each other. And that's a reasonable thing. Like, you can not like Obama for a variety of reasons, but regardless of who was in office, gay rights would have expanded. They just would have, because the zeitgeist of the country changed.
Nothing else.
And Obama went along with it because he was the president at the time. And I think, I don't know. I guess I don't know Obama personally, so I can't speak to his personal character. But I would imagine at this point he recognizes, you know, gay people being allowed to be married is a good thing. Cascadia 93, if by Rick James impersonator you mean woman kidnapper and crack addict, probably. Oh, God. Can we not make fun of, like, I get it. I understand. But, like, ad-homming people and making fun of the way they look, not a great look. And especially in the bit messages that I'm supposed to read, not fun. Please.
Mattered. Nothing else. Just crush the American dream.
Hey guys, you know this is photoshopped, right? Like this is a picture of a hallway, and they're photoshopped into it, and then pride flags are photoshopped into their hands. But this isn't an actual photo that happened. I almost wish it was, but no, it's not.
You know, family values. He destroyed it.
Family values. We just want to get the family together on a Sunday like in the old days and stone the gays to death. Is that too much to ask?
But guess what? Many people were crying, almost as if they were hypnotized during Obama's, you know, station in office. They couldn't believe it. What happened to us? It was almost like the Antichrist was in control of America.
Or, how about this? People changed their opinions on gay rights as advocacy groups and individuals worked to change the minds of those who were either indifferent or anti-gay marriage. It's weird how that works, isn't it?
And suddenly you woke up from a deep sleep while he was casting spells and putting the rainbow on the White House. You were
I feel like if Obama could cast spells, he would have had more balls against the Republicans. He wouldn't have let them gut the Affordable Care Act. Wicked Ways with 10 bits. I never understood the family values argument because LGBTQ people are part of families. I know. They don't think so, though.
fast asleep. And then suddenly you woke up and you began to realize, oh my God, this satanic liberal agenda has swept through America and Europe, promoting what the Bible says is unhealthy,
There's nothing
but
funny
still,
about the tools of
The Bible
capitalism.
says a lot of things are unhealthy. The Bible says to eat shrimp is an abomination and to mix two kinds of fabrics together in your clothes, like any sort of, you know, polymer or whatever the word is when you mix
There's nothing
different
funny about
kinds of
the
things
tools
together.
capitalism.
Yeah, the Bible has a lot of outdated ideas that aren't good today. And not only that, but we have this thing in the United States, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's called the separation of church and state, where your religious opinions cannot inform laws, right? You need to have secular justifications for why things should be legal or illegal. Antipodian Squid with 10 bits casting spells. He's a witch? Quick, see if Obama weighs as much as a duck. Get the ducking stool!
with their fake science, their liberal science who they pay to come up with.
Towing24, part of the reason Senate Obama did that is because his opponent in the race was going through a divorce that involved his opponent forcing his wife to do some swinger stuff. So he was doing a proto-Biden 2020 soft-pedaling to snag some centrists. It's not awesome, but a center-lib is better than fascist, so I agree. I criticize Obama. I don't agree with Obama, but I don't hate Obama in the same way that, like, I hate Donald Trump, right? Like, my version of, like, an ideal political system that I feel like is realistic in this country in the next 20 years is I want to be in a party where Obama and Hillary Clinton and people like them are on the right. That's the right. That is the conservative party. And then people like you and me and people who tend to watch this stream and the surfs and stuff, we would be the labor, like, party. We would be the party that deals with, like, rights for workers and making sure people get health care and stuff like that. We would then be the left and they would be the right, and that would be a balanced way of doing things in a reasonable world, instead of what we have right now, where Obama and Hillary are the left, along with Joe Biden, and then we have insane fascists.
These fake results, people started to thumbs up the idea of the liberal agenda, and they abandoned their Republican conservative values. They were half and half. 1 minute I'm Republican, but really I'm supporting the LGBTQ. You can't worship two.
You can be Republican and support LGBTQ people. Unfortunately, there aren't a ton of them. But yeah, that does exist. You just have to not be a shit human being. You're probably shit in other ways, like you think lowering your capital gains tax is more important than people who are poor getting health care that they desperately need. But at least you wouldn't be shit in that way,
There's
right?
nothing funny about the tools of
Log
capitalism.
cabin Republicans are also weirdly a thing. Cascadia 93, Obama murdered innocent Muslims and civilians in foreign countries and also deported more people than any president in history, but Trump is doing that too and worse. Libs aren't as bad, just irritating. I agree. I agree with you. I agree.
Two masters at the same time. Republicans stood for family values, prosperity, economy, but
No. They claim to be for those things, but they're not.
somehow Obama knocked her values sideways and invaded and infiltrated the Republican psyche and turned.
The only way Obama infiltrated the Republican psyche was every day they woke up and lost their minds a little bit more knowing that there was a black guy as president. They lost their minds. Do you guys remember how much they'd freak out about absolutely everything Obama did? Even if it was innocuous? Like, I'd understand if they were like, Obama's droning people. Like, yeah, that'd be messed up, but they can't argue with that because they like that shit. They like Middle East intervention and blowing up brown folk. So they have to make shit up like, oh my god, Obama's wearing a tan suit. And they just sound like psychos. Like, people talk about like, oh, Trump derangement syndrome. No, people are rightfully very, very panicked and upset about the destruction wrought by the Trump administration on this country and its people. That's not derangement. That's being reasonably upset. People on the right during Obama's administration got freaked out, but about all the wrong stuff. Ugh, it's like parody. What else? I missed something. Winch enter with 10 bits. The Atheist Watch, War Room, Persecuted, Heaven is for Real, Passion of the Christ, and Fireproof videos. We're all, and I want to watch them. Could you please put them back up somehow? No. Not because I don't want to, but because I don't have the original videos anywhere anymore. I literally could not if I wanted to. I do not have those video files anywhere. They're gone from history. They got deleted by YouTube and they're just gone.
And some of the Republicans into liberals. This dangerous infiltration. So he caused a dent. He damaged America by promoting the nasty, filthy, liberal agenda. If you look at America now, you can't even spread your Christian faith. You can't even proudly say you're a Christian. Yet, despite...
Dude, you can say you're a Christian. That's fine. No one cares. You have the right to religious freedom in America. I don't know what the UK's stance is, but it seems to me, yeah, people have the right to pursue whatever religious beliefs that make the most sense to them. And that's fine. You just can't impose those beliefs on other people. That's the difference.
Despite it all, Donald Trump came on the scene.
Aren't 70% of 70% of Americans professing Christians? I'd imagine it's even more. It's gonna be dependent on age group. Let me look though. America by religious belief. Christians represented 65% of the total population, 43% identifying as Protestants, 2% as Mormons, people with no formal religious identity at 26%. So 65%. It's actually a little lower than I thought it would be. Cool. It's still the majority, though, which I find hilarious whenever Christians are like, we're so persecuted. Guys, you're in the majority. If you're persecuted, you're real bad at everything. If you can be 65% of the population and still be persecuted.
Donald Trump came on the scene, and he was holding a Bible saying he's going to protect the Christian faith.
Anyone who believes Donald Trump has read a word of the Bible in the last 50 years, I have a fucking bridge to sell you, you moron. He was literally asked in an interview, like, oh, what's your favorite Bible verse? And he's like, he can't name a single Bible verse. It's hilarious.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Wicked Ways with 10 bits. I live in the Bible Belt, and there are people who argue these points. He isn't isolated. Oh, I know. Republicans are crazy. And they're so stupid, too. Like, evangelical Christians, do you not understand you're being used? Donald Trump does not care about you or your religious beliefs at all. He is using you as a political prop. Like, come on, guys.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Cascadian 93, he couldn't even make John 3:16, the famous one that sports fans like. Europe.
Which he didn't, because the aggressive liberal agenda is rampant in America. Obama has done his job. Now, most black people are pro-gay. Can you believe it? Black people who had a Christian background used to have strong heterosexual identity and values. Obama brainwashed these black people. He brainwashed us to be proud to be raised up by single mothers. He brainwashed us to be proud to be victims. He brainwashed us.
This guy thinks Obama is much more effective as a leader than I think, which is pretty funny to me. He thinks Obama, like, nailed it. He might think Obama's evil, but he thinks Obama friggin' nailed it. He's out here brainwashing the entire African-American community. Apparently successfully, somehow single-handedly pushing LGBTQ rights, even though it wasn't his doing. Like, this guy thinks Obama was one of the most effective presidents ever to sit in the Oval Office. That's cool. He's wrong. That's cool, though. A Colston 20 bits. The evangelical response to that is that God uses bad people to do great things. Brainworms. Ugh, gross. Have they considered, if that's consistently true, that maybe God isn't such a great guy? Wind Chanter with another 10 bits. Maybe I should start a channel called Chud Battle where I have chuds debate each other. That'd be funny.
To fall into the liberal trap. Now, most black people are pro-gay, pro-LGBT. Many of us don't even know whether we're coming or going.
I think most Americans in general are pro-LGBT rights, even if they aren't, like, strongly in favor of it. Like, yes, we should fight for them. At least they're like, oh, okay, that's great. If they want to marry people, that's fine. It's none of my business. Yeah, because that's the reasonable position to take.
He did his job well.
That's my favorite stereotype about...
He did his job well.
This is my favorite stereotype about people on the left. How to catch a Democrat, free stuff. But then when you actually look at what states get the most welfare and the most social programs, guess which states they are? They're all red states. They're all red states. Blue states tend to have pretty good economies, because as it turns out, left-leaning policies are good for your economies and keep people in work and educated, whereas red states don't do that, so they have a ton of people on welfare. And I don't think there's anything wrong with welfare. I'm not demonizing those people. I am pointing out the hypocrisy that the same people who are like, all these liberals taking handouts are the same people who live in a trailer, do meth, and receive, you know, their monthly payment from the government to go and buy food. They've been brainwashed by the right to demonize a group of people that are actually them. It's so bizarre.
If you believe in American family values, you know, then suddenly, oh, you're a patriot and you're a hater.
You could believe in family values if you mean the value of, like, fostering a loving family, both for the adults in it and for the children, if children are part of the family. But when you start saying family values are inherently that you need to have a nuclear family in the style of the 1950s, and you can't have gay parents, and you can't have lesbian parents, and you can't have a parent or parents who are trans, that's where the problem comes in. You're trying to impose your beliefs, which you're free to. If you want to be in a relationship and you're happy in a relationship that is as nuclear family heteronormative as possible, that's right. That's your right. Go do that. That's great. I'm very happy for you. Most people are straight anyway, so most couples in this country are going to be straight heteronormative couples, and that's fine, and it doesn't bother me that that's the case. But why would you care what other people do as long as they're not hurting anyone? And let's be clear, they're not hurting anyone. This has been established year upon year upon year that gay people getting married or trans people existing does not harm cis-het people. It just doesn't. Stop being so insecure and understand that other people exist on this planet and it's not your job to police them or their bodies. Maya156, thank you for subscribing.
He brainwashed the black family. So black people now believe that to be black, you have to be liberal, have no morals, stand for anything.
That's a pretty fucked up thing to say about the black community, that you think that's what the black community views itself as. That's fucked up. And I get that this guy's black, but he's also in the UK, and the situation we have in the States is different due to historical factors, let's say.
And you wonder why the black family's messed up today? This is the legacy of liberalism. Liberalism destroyed the black family. Liberalism is going to...
What? What? What?
Bring America to her knees. I dare you, save this video and challenge me. Under Obama...
Conservatism enacted slavery for hundreds of years and then fought a war to try and retain slavery, whereas liberalism fought to abolish slavery and enacted a war to free people from their bondage. Like, I'm not saying that makes up. It doesn't. America has dark, dark things in its past and its present in regard to race issues, obviously. But to put that at the feet of liberalism when it's the opposite is very, very frustrating. Yes, and the drug war and Jim Crow, segregation, all conservative policies. So stupid. Wing the Ultimate Nug with 10 bits. I don't know what I would have done if it didn't grow up at the perfect time. Being gay was acceptable-ish by the time I realized that I was gay as a teenager. Yeah, same. I don't know what I would have done in a different decade. Would have sucked. Probably would have been like a suicide statistic or something.
Under Clinton, in fact, did you know that under the so-called liberal leaders, they said, oh, you know, Republicans are racist. Republicans are racist. Conservative are racist.
They often are, yeah.
When Obama was in office and Biden was his boyfriend in the backseat, why?
Are all vice presidents officially dating the president now? Because I ship Spiro Agnew and Nixon hard.
Why did they not do anything about racism? If racism exists in America, as Obama and liberals claim, why did they not deal with racism?
Guys, do you remember how the president has a button on their desk that says "End Racism"? And for 8 years, Obama hovered his finger around it and he's like, I don't know. Should I push the "End Racism" button? And then after 8 years, he didn't. We were like, that was weird. Why did we even install that button? Someone just pressed the button already. Oh, wait. The President of the United States does not have unilateral power to somehow end racism? That's unfortunate. Wing the Ultimate Nug with 10 bits. I coughed and now there's cheese bits stuck in my nose. It's stuck in my nose! I'm sorry. Just eat it that way. Just let it dissolve into your respiratory system. Lung cheese. He kept mistaking the end racism button with the drone strike button.
I would tell you why. That's their favorite card. That's their favorite card. That's how they'll win the Republicans, their favorite race card. They've had years to deal with racism in America.
How do you propose we end racism immediately? Because if you have an idea, please. I mean, I agree. It would be nice if Obama, instead of going along with the militarization of the police and stuff like that, instead tried to enact some sort of national policing reform. I agree. But that wouldn't end all racism, right? If you enact laws that help end systematic racism, or at least mitigate it, you're still going to have people within systems that are going to be racist, right? The idea that, like, racists don't exist is the dumbest. And apparently none of these people have ever talked to more than 10 people. If you don't think racists exist, how many people have you talked to in the last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Come on, guys. We're not even talking about, like, crypto racists that are gonna try and hide it under the surface and do all dog whistles, though there are plenty of them. I'm talking about the full-on people who will use, like, the N-word and other disgusting language in regard to minorities, and they'll straight up say to your face, oh, I feel this way about them, and it's bad. Like, how could you, in 2020, when the internet exists, not have come across these people ever? I find it very hard to believe that you haven't. Wicked Ways with 10 bits. I mean, Birmingham got pretty much destroyed because we can't control our racism. I don't know anything about it. Sorry. And then MMO Addicted with 100 bits. I mean, coming from a far less LGBTQ accepting country, I nearly killed myself once. Fortunately picked a real shit way. I had a very long period of depression, which escalated after an argument I had with my mom over the phone while driving. And being the idiot I was, I decided to undo my seatbelt and speed into something. I changed my mind at the last second and swerved out of the way. I still ended up banging up the car, but no damage to me. Ooh. I'm glad you were able to swerve out of the way at the last second. That would have been very, very unfortunate. If he never met a racist, can you introduce him to your extended family? Right. Like, my dad's like a racist. Like, these people are not uncommon, guys. They're all over the place. If you're fortunate enough not to have met a racist to genuinely understand, you're very, very lucky, and I envy you.
America, the liberals but they did nothing. And the reason being, if you look at Biden's past, you begin to realize that he's a devil incarnate. But let me go back.
Biden is the devil incarnate. I wish Biden was the devil incarnate. That'd be nice. Devil by his standards, not real devil. There is no real devil. I just mean, like, by his standards, devil would mean, like, he's a maverick who's gonna do anything to get, you know, free college and public health care going. That'd be great. Gear Fox 1, thank you for following. I need to get some more water. I'll be back in just a second. Sorry. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Back to my subject. Now people have lost trust in Donald Trump. Yes, Donald Trump made a few mistakes.
That's the understatement of the millennium. Keith Furt 488 with 100 bits. Hannah, you're providing my distraction from the fact that my country is on fire. Nerve-wracking as heck. I'm sorry to hear that, but I am glad I can distract you at least a little bit.
He said there was no COVID, then suddenly he's fighting for the vaccine. Donald Trump said there's no COVID, then suddenly he's trying to do a deal with the drugs company. How can you do a deal if there's no COVID? It doesn't make...
Even Crazy McCrazy Pants here recognizes how bad Donald Trump's COVID response has been. That doesn't bode well for Trump in the election if even someone who literally thinks Biden is a Satanist is like, wait a minute.
Makes sense. How can you fight for the vaccine that you're telling people go out there, don't wear a mask because COVID-19 don't exist? Then the economy. People soon lose patriotism when the bread on their table vanishes. When you have no bread on the table, you stop being patriotic.
Here's an example of food, apparently. Let me look at what the election's at, 538. 8 tips to stay sane in the final 15 days of the campaign. I might need that. Let's see. Biden is at 87 and 100 to win. Trump is at 12. Hold on. Let me do this real quick. That's like a D10. That's a D10 away from Trump as president, okay? Give or take. It's 1 point. You get it. So, let's roll a D10 and see how many... A 1 is Trump winning the election. Let's see how long it takes to get a 1. And that will be how worried we will be about the election. Completely arbitrarily. And by arbitrarily, I mean this is a hard science, people, okay? This is science in action.
There's nothing funny about
There's a 4. That's a Biden win. That's a 3. That's a Biden win. Ooh, that's a Trump win. I don't like statistics. They make me sad. Anyway.
You're only patriotic when the bills are being paid and you got food in your stomach. Then you're patriotic. But take away the bread, take away your soup, and let your bills not be paid.
There's nothing
And that's when the lib...
How about a D2020? Sarcastic slow clap.
snakes come in and they start to groom you like a bee.
I missed a thing, sorry. Wing the Ultimate Nug, if you were a type of bread, what type of bread would you be? Would it be sliced or whole? Would you be toasted, grilled with cheese? I would be cheesy bread. I'd be cheesy bread you get from a pizza place with little bits of bacon in it. Cheese bread.
Pedophile. And that's why a lot of people are now being groomed. America economy is in trouble, like anywhere in the world. Okay, America economy is in trouble.
That's an actual thing you own, a
Donald Trump.
D2020. What's the D2020 look like? Let me see if I can find one. D2020.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Cheesy bacon bread. Emergency D2020 set. I don't see what's very 2020 about them. Oh god, does it just have different stuff from 2020? Zoom happy hour, market crash, lockdown hair. Jesus Christ.
Has made a lot of mistakes, okay, a lot of mistakes, and as a result, Fox News is turned against him, even Republicans. But I tell you something now, you vote Joe Biden in. Joe Biden says he's going to classify Christians as a terrorist group.
Since Joe Biden is Catholic, that would be an interesting move on his part. I hereby do sign into law. Christians are a terrorist group. Immediately there's cops behind him with handcuffs. You can't just say stuff that isn't true. You think people would do that? You think they go on the internet and just tell lies?
If they attack the LGBTQ, Joe Biden says he's going to do so much.
If you literally go and attack LGBTQ people, yeah, you're going to get in trouble because that's assault. Or if you're like taking like a bomb and you're going into like a nightclub that's like a gay nightclub and blowing it up, then you are a terrorist. That's why, that's not because you're Christian. It would be because of the act of terrorism.
So much. I don't know what else you can give the LGBTQ. I don't know what else you can give them, but he's going to give them so much. God only knows. God only knows what else he's going to give the LGBTQ. Because they have the world. Even the churches are bowing down to the LGBTQ. Even churches. And pastors and leaders and the likes of Joel Osteen, who wouldn't even promote Christ, but rather didn't want to offend the liberal agenda.
So if Joel Osteen is your bar for Christianity, you need a better version of Christianity. Joel Osteen is a huckster. I don't even think Joel Osteen's actually a Christian. I think he's just a scam artist who recognizes that evangelicals are a really good mark.
So the LGBTQ, they have so much rights. Yet Joe Biden says that as a Christian, if you dare quote any scriptures to adhere to your faith, you could, which goes against the LGBTQ agenda, you will be seen as a Muslim terrorist.
What? I don't even know. This is so off base from reality. I don't even know what thing he's misinterpreting. Like, normally with something, when someone makes a dumb claim about Obama or Joe Biden, and they're like, they said this thing, usually you can track that thought back to something that in context makes sense and is reasonable, that they've then taken to mean absolutely crazy things. It's kind of like how, like, anti-vaxxers say, like, oh, Bill Gates is gonna try and wipe out most of the Earth's population because he talked about lowering the population of third world countries, when really in context Bill was talking about like giving vaccines and lowering the infant mortality rate tends to lower, population growth. So normally you can track crazy thoughts like this back to some actual statement. This, I have no idea where he's getting this idea that Joe Biden's gonna prosecute Christians as terrorists. What? Wing the Ultimate Nug, he does know Jesus was a communist. He literally said you can't go to heaven if you are rich. You have to pay your taxes. He whipped people who were selling stuff at church. If he was alive today, they'd call him Stalin. Yeah, I think you've discounted American Jesus, though.
Can you imagine the ideology, how they want to brainwash you if Joe Biden becomes president? The man's always sleeping. He's hardly functional. Yet this 75, I think he's 99 years old. Somehow America is.
Trump and him are almost the exact same age. They're not that different in age. I think they're like 3 years different. 3 or 4, something like that.
To put this liberal in control of America. What can a 90-year-old, who's always sleeping?
This is the thing, too. You just said he's like the Antichrist who's going to lead to the destruction of the nation. But now you're saying he can't do anything and he's Sleepy Joe. Which is it? A tenet of fascism, if you don't know, is that the enemy is constantly super powerful and going to destroy you, but also they're weak. They're disgusting, degenerate, and weak, and you will crush them. So, it's always fun when right-wingers really, really fall into the fascist hole of, like, they're the most evil Antichrist Satan and they're going to destroy the country, and also they're Sleepy Joe. He's just a 90-year-old man who can't do anything. Which is it? You can't have both.
Half the time he's like this. He's not going to debate Donald Trump. If he debates Donald Trump will take him to the cleaners.
Hey, guys, remember when Joe Biden and Donald Trump debated and then Donald Trump came off as a huge asshole and he went down in the polls because of that? And then when it came time to do the second debate, because they were going to do it online over, like, not a Zoom call, but, something like a Zoom call, Trump chickened the fuck out and instead went to go do a town hall where he came off like an insane person. I remember.
Because this man he should be in a retirement home. Never mind running for president. But either way, a country in the hands of liberals will take that country down. In the Bible, when the country is prosperous, usually in history, God is behind that country's prosperity. Now Britain and America has sold out the church.
What about all the giant empires throughout history that weren't Christian? I hate to break it to you, but the majority of empires throughout human history have not been Christian. Christianity hasn't been prolific for that long on the global scale. Like, meanwhile, of course we have, empires in the UK, and prior to that we have Rome that became Christian at the very end, right before it crumbled, and there's, like, all sorts of other stuff. But, like, there's a whole world over in Asia happening, and none of the empires in Asia had anything to do with Jesus. So, what are you talking about? Most empires in human history have not had Christianity in them in any way, shape, or form. Didn't the Romans kill Jesus? Yes, they did. Rome lasted a very long time, though. So Romans were in charge of Judea at the time, which is like, modern-day Israel and stuff. And it's where Jesus hung out. It's where he did his ministries and stuff. But the Romans were in charge because the Romans owned a huge piece of land, from the Middle East. And let's look at the Roman Empire around the life of Jesus. Roman Empire, life of Jesus. First century Roman Empire. So Rome had an empire, which is a good name for a band. Rome had an empire. Good name for a band. Steal that. During the first century, this was around it. This is where Jesus is from, over here. It's on the far end of, the empire. And the empire, I think, continued to expand after Jesus' death for a while. And then eventually, a Roman emperor converted to Christianity. Because Christianity, even after Jesus' death, of course, it continued to expand. It became its own thing, separate from Judaism eventually. It was made illegal at some point, and there was persecution of Christians for a bit. And then eventually a Roman emperor converted to Christianity, and it became like the official religion of Rome. This is also where like the popes and stuff come from. It's a whole thing. But yeah, most of Roman history was not Christian. That was on the tail end. It literally to the extent that some people will claim Christianity was like the reason the Roman Empire fell, which isn't the case. It may be a factor, but there are many factors that went into the downfall of Rome. It's not one thing in particular.
Sold out Christian
Constantine. Yes, it was Constantine.
Values.
Rome lasted for 1,000 years. That's the crazy thing about Rome. You know what I mean? Like, America has only had an empire, I'd really say, since post-World War II. It's not really that old of an empire. And the British Empire lasted for some hundreds of years or whatever. But even then, nothing in comparison to Rome. It is absolutely crazy how long Rome lasted. Like, they must have genuinely thought, like, let's say you're 600 years into the Roman Empire, and you're part of the Roman Empire, you must have just thought Rome would never go away. Why would you think why would you think it would? It was the most powerful empire in the world, as far as they knew. So, it's just weird. Rome's cool.
Now God's protection will leave America and Britain, and who knows, maybe America is being punished and Joe Biden will bring it down. As I says, any country in the hands of liberals. Let me give you an example. Donald Trump said, and I thoroughly agree with him, because me and my brother was talking about this when he was at university studying politics, and people had no views. They were scared to have views. And the lecturer was beside himself, because he was trying to stir up debate that these people were sleeping. They were liberals just waiting to use their qualifications and mess the world up. And Donald Trump says that universities are now, it's not about science, it's not about truth, it's about pushing the liberal satanic agenda.
Demonization of universities and intellectuals is also another tenet of fascism, in case you don't know. Check that one off the box.
Donald Trump is right.
Wing the Ultimate Nug with 10 bits. Rome lasted so long because the majority of the time they determined how good a leader was based on how much free shit they got. That's why they did expensive stuff and time-consuming aqueducted. Yeah, Roman Empire emperors were judged by the amenities they provided to the people, which frankly makes sense. Your leaders should be measured by how much they do for the population. That's the entire purpose of leadership. Jouster's End. Hi, Hannah, how are you today? I'm doing all right. I'm a little tired, but other than that, I'm doing pretty good.
It's not about science. It's not about X and Y chromosomes.
Again with this stuff. Guys, hey. I'm trans, right? Surprise. I'm trans. I know I probably have XY chromosomes. Never been tested, so I guess I don't know that for sure. But presumably, yeah, that's the case. Has nothing to do with me being transgender. I mean, it has to do in the sense that it makes me trans because I'm moving from a place of being socialized as male to outwardly looking and behaving more in line with how I feel as an individual. That is to say, female. But that has nothing to do with it, right? Like, me having XY chromosomes doesn't not make me trans. Like, do you not understand? We've explained the differentiation between sex and gender so many times to these people. It is frustrating to me that there are still people who don't get it. Windchanter with 10 bits, and also they didn't pay their soldiers and soldiers were free to rise up. Oh, I didn't know that.
It's not about truth anymore. It's about pushing
Enjoy your D&D game, Apollo. Hope it's good.
Extreme leftist political agenda.
Oh boy, I wish Joe Biden was the crazy leftist that all these right-wingers think he is. Wouldn't that be beautiful?
I tell you this, and I will debate.
Joe Biden getting sworn into office. Do you swear to blah, 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 blah of the presidency, the office of the presidency? I do. And then he pulls off a mask, and it's been Bernie Sanders the whole time, and he's like, ha ha, gotcha, suckers. It's time for healthcare. That's the 2021 energy I want.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Cascadian 93, not to mention they weren't even an empire the whole time. They were a republic at first with an elected senate. Yeah. Roman history's complicated. I don't know a ton about it, but it's very interesting from what I've gleaned.
Doctor, lawyer, you scientist, you name them. I'll debate you. Society or any country cannot survive on the principles of extreme progressive liberal agenda.
Why? Why? Why would being accepting as a society and caring about the citizens of your country and giving them equal rights be a bad thing?
It's impossible. That's a
Because I don't know how to break it to you, but like, if progressive agendas hadn't continually made progress over the last 150 years, if you came to America, you would have a bad time because of the color of your skin, right? The only reason people in the United States who aren't white have rights is because of progressive agendas, because for so long America has been dominated by like really backward racist views on people who aren't white, and those racist views would have been maintained had it not been for these like liberal progressive causes you're demonizing. I hate this stuff. I legitimately hate when there's someone who's part of a group that in the past has been trodden upon by society, and then once they get, you know, rights and get recognized as equal human beings, they get right on the sidelines and start doing the same thing to another group of people. It's sick. Like, when I see this too with some of the people who are like part of the gay community, and they're part of like the LGB drop the T, and now that like gay people are more accepted in society, all of a sudden there's certain people in the LGBT community, or in the LGB community rather, who want to demonize trans people. And it's like, guys, we just went through this. What don't you understand? It's frustrating.
Down the Greek Empire. That this liberal, this progressive, you know, socialism, extreme socialism, is this sexual revolution is what brought down the Greek Empire.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Also, Greek or Roman, those are two different things, separated by a decent period of time. The Greeks were a thing, and then the Romans were a thing, and the Romans took a lot of stuff from the Greeks, including their gods, but like, the sexual stuff and socialism were not part of it. There was not socialism in Rome or in Greece. What are you talking about?
Civilization, humanity cannot function on that kind of level, and I quote, that kind
about the tools of
Fu Manchu with 10 bits. Oh, what I was give to have some extreme socialism in the USA. Yeah.
of level of mental illness. You need order. The liberal agenda does not stand for order. It stands for broke up families, dysfunctional families.
Not really. No.
Identity politics.
Recognizing that you're part of an identifiable group, and that group has certain interests that would be best served by recognizing your place in that group, is not a bad thing. I recognize that there are certain situations where it's like, just identifying someone as a group they are in, that's bad. But saying, like, for instance, to myself, okay, I'm trans. So what are the issues that face trans people, myself included, and then getting together with other trans people to form, like, groups that advocate for certain political positions and policies that are advantageous for us. And then maybe further, we get together with the larger LGBT community and try and push for those things. It's just effective ally making in politics. Something conservatives weirdly act like they don't like, but they do the same, right? Like saying, I am a Christian, and the liberals are going to persecute me for being a Christian. That's identity politics. You're identifying yourself as a Christian, as a political entity. You are a Christian, and you believe that the powers that be are going to adversely affect you because of that identity. That's identity politics. Cascadia 93. The Greek Empire fell because the Persian, also not Christian, empire was bigger. Yeah.
And maybe God is going to use the liberals to maybe he's going to take his hand away from Britain and America and destroy it, because
Toeen 24, Greek Empire. Does he mean Byzantine Empire? That wasn't progressivism that killed it. That was autocratic conservatism blocking progress with the pincer invasions, Catholics, and Islam. Yeah, I don't know much about that, so I can't really comment on it.
Christian faith.
History is complicated, though, and if anyone ever says to you, this empire fell because of this one exact thing, and this one exact thing is not literally an invasion that was successful, they're probably wrong. History is complicated, and if you are a successful empire, usually it takes a number of converging factors to destroy that empire.
Has been attacked on the liberals. They use the LGBTQ, and we did nothing about it. We allowed the LGBTQ to infiltrate our churches, ransack.
I don't know how to tell this to you, but LGBTQ people have been in your churches all along. They just weren't allowed to openly exist. They had to hide in the closet, but they existed nonetheless. History nerds unite, ooh-woo.
the House of God with the liberal agenda, and we did nothing. So who knows?
Skooma addict,
if Joe Biden gets in, kiss America goodbye. She's finished. Any liberal now, the state of liberalism in the world, any liberal now that goes into office, you can say the world is finished. The world is finished.
Sure. Wind Chanter with 10 bits. Wasn't the guy who wrote the King James edition of the Bible bisexual? Are you talking about King James? Are you talking about King James? I don't know anything about that. Doctor Who made fun of this and claimed he was bisexual or gay, but I don't know anything about the actual historicity of that. The world wouldn't end if America ended, or if the UK ended, or if any nation-state ended. Like when the Roman Empire crumbled, it probably wasn't the funnest for a lot of people within it, but it's not like every Roman citizen died. You know what I mean? They went on to live their lives, probably with less function over time of the government until it basically ceased to exist as an entity, and then they just continued on differently. It would be fine. If tomorrow, for some reason, and I don't think this is going to happen, although it could someday, I'm sure it will. No empire lasts forever. No nation lasts forever. That's a reality, and everyone should recognize that. If tomorrow the United States ceased to be a thing as an entity, we wouldn't die. We would just be living where we're living, and some other government entity would come in to fill the vacuum. Probably in the case of the United States, state governments would become more powerful, and then they'd make allies with each other. And maybe over time, certain states would sort of create coalitions and coalesce into different regional governments. I don't know. But either way, if America dissolved tomorrow as an entity, we would all continue to live. Things would get more complicated because transitions of power tend to be very complicated, not super fun times to live through. But it doesn't mean the end of the world, and anyone who thinks that is not very versed in how many times nation states and empires have fell in history. We keep trucking on. Nonetheless, Cascadia 93, unless they lived in Rome proper, those raids were no bueno. True. If it's because of an invasion and you were at the epicenter of an invasion, yeah, you're probably screwed. But that's a different story. Most Americans would not be at the epicenter of an invasion, and I very much doubt that what's going to bring America down someday will be an invasion, just because, for one thing, conventional ground war isn't really as much of a thing in places like the United States because of mutually assured destruction, but also because even if it was, America seems like a really bad target for ground invasion. You can come in from the sides, but there's so much middle America. You know what I mean? It would just be real hard to take land and consolidate power within the United States. I don't know. Anyway, let's finish this video up.
Because, excuse me, the liberal agenda is aggressive.
There's also a big mountain range part of the country, so.
I could, my fantasy is to have a, what do you call it, live stream? Have a live stream and go back into history and show how the liberals has destroyed the world. Mentally ill people are running the country.
Right now, I agree. Donald Trump is mentally ill and he should not be the president. Like, what does he mean right now mentally ill people are running the country? You're a Republican. Or you're on the right. You're not a Republican. I'm sorry. You're from the UK. Right now, the branches of government are entirely controlled by conservatives. Do you know that? Do you even know that?
Running the world. Unless we put a rein on it, unless we put a stop on it, this world is finished. You cannot have civilization. You cannot have family values based on liberalism.
RPG Clyde. I like how he identified that as a fantasy. Oh, I didn't even notice he said that.
It is unhealthy.
Oh God, did he write a book?
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Wing the Ultimate Nug with 10 bits. I feel like if America was invaded and lost the majority of America, we'll say, nah, fake news. I've never seen an enemy troop. Fake. True. Oh boy. Alright, this guy's getting added to Tinfoil Tuesday conspiracy people list. Crazy. Crazy stuff. Anyway. Let's do another poll. To see what's next. Dead air. Okay, vote on this poll to decide what we will watch next.
Hey, fashionistas.
Tankies. I want to do more tankies, guys. We should do a tanky stream soon.
This world is such a...
Like, is this guy's whole channel tanky stuff? Oh, it is. I'm gonna save this guy under my tankies playlist. I know I have one. Why isn't it here? Hold on. Give me a sec. Gotta... Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I'd feel so free. Flying away on a wing and a prayer. Who could it be? Believe it or not, it's just me. Incel UBI one, so we'll watch that next. Why can't I find... There we go. Tankies. Found it. That was weird that it took me so long to find. Apologies. Okay, so we got in some kind of incel talking about UBI. This won the poll, so let's see what he has to say. I always find the incels interesting because, again, I've talked about this before with the incels. This guy isn't unattractive. This guy's like a normal-looking guy, and if he wasn't an incel in personality, he'd probably be fine. He'd be able to find, you know, a significant other, but here we are. Dudes Spanking Dudes, quick 1 minute cleanse. I'll save it for a little later or something, or I'll save it.
I come to make an announcement. Shadow the Hedgehog's a bitch-ass motherfucker. He pissed on my fucking wife. That's right. He took his hedgehog fucking quilly dick out and he pissed on my fucking wife and he said his dick was this big. And I said that's the color. And guess what? Here's what my dong looks like.
Nope. I can't handle that much Sonic.
So I get a lot of weird ideas, and one especially weird thing that my brain does is it'll make these connections between two topics that seem totally unrelated. They seem like they don't have anything to do with one another, but yet somehow my brain will find a connection between the two. And one of these weird ideas that I made a weird connection.
I know someone suggested I make a MGTOW incel playlist or something. I will. It'll take me a bit because I'm going to have to go back through all my clips and find the correct ones, but I'll start one. Wind Chanter, that coming from someone who owns all the Sonichu. I'll have you know I own 2 issues of Sonichu, okay? I don't own all of the Sonichu. I wish I did, but that's a completely different story.
Connection to recently was UBI. Now, those of you who don't really know about UBI, it stands for Universal Basic Income, and it basically works a lot like welfare. Kind of depends on how it's implemented.
No, it does not work like welfare. Welfare is something that you can get if you are in a situation where you are unable to make income or you make such little income that you qualify. Basically, it's like if you are unable to work, since we're talking about Sonichu anyway, I guess let's talk about Christine Weston Chandler. Christine, has high-functioning autism, and she has been determined not to be able to work, which I think is correct. Christine is not a very functional person, despite the diagnosis of high-functioning autism. She has trouble interacting with other people, so she can't really get a job. So she receives welfare every month. She calls this her monthly tugboat, and that makes sure that she doesn't wind up on the street, or at least it helps. It's not enough to actually get an apartment or anything, but it is supplementary income that will help that person, and that's fine. It's all well and good. But it's only available to people who are in financial need or in some sort of bad place financially or in life. Universal basic income is the idea that the government should help provide to its citizens the bare necessities to live. Food, clothing, stuff like that. And it's also predicated on the idea that within society, we've seen a huge shifting of wealth from the working population to the top 1%, right? The idea is that most of the productivity gains in terms of profitability of the last 30, 40 years and the efficiency of our labor markets, are not our labor markets, the efficiency of our manufacturing, of our creativity, basically every industry has made strides in the last 40 years due to computing and the work of their employees that have made them incredibly profitable. But most of those profits have come to the top. So part of UBI is both balancing the scales in that way and making sure that some of the benefits of huge profitability go to everyone in society, and also making sure that everyone isn't starving and stuff like that. On top of that, we also have looking forward to the future, the idea of manufacturing and many industries becoming automated, where you have very few people who have the means of production. In this case, we're talking about like automated robots who can do stuff, or other systems that can produce things on their own once they are in position. And at a point where there are basically no jobs for people, what do you do as a society? Because you can't have a functioning economy where everything can be produced for very, very cheaply, but if no one has a job because no one's needed for the production of these things, who's buying the products? So UBI is sort of a way of getting around that and saying, like, okay, even if we're not doing right now the collective ownership of the means of production, at the very least, we will tax companies high enough that some of the money they make will go back to the populace, and then they will use that money to buy various products, to clothe themselves, to shelter themselves, stuff like that. I'm not, like, the biggest, like, I'm not the biggest expert on UBI by any means. Definitely go look it up yourself, but it's different than welfare. Dude spanking dudes with 10 bits. Christine needs a caretaker and to have her social media cut off, her internet limited. Anyone who makes fun of her now is just disgusting since she is proven to be mentally ill. Pretty much. Yeah.
But we'll take Andrew Yang's example because that's probably the most popular and contemporary one out there. So Andrew Yang's UBI example was to give everybody $1,000 a month. I think there were some stipulations to it, like...
You can't... I'm pretty sure Yang's version, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but at the very least, he got the idea out into the popular consciousness to people who hadn't heard of it before. So whatever. It basically also entailed getting rid of a lot of social programs, right? Because one of the things with UBI is, theoretically speaking, if you give everyone just a set amount of money every month and you don't have to deal with all the clerical issues that you have in welfare and other social systems, then you can cut down on costs tremendously, right? Like, there isn't a separate welfare and food stamps and all these other social programs. You just have one program, and it's people getting their checks every month. And I'm sure you'll still have an office where if something's wrong with the check, people will go, but you wouldn't have all these separate offices dealing with separate policies and a lot of complicated things. It would just be, okay, you're a citizen, you get a check. And then if there's a problem with the check, you go get it fixed, but it's way less overhead. So the idea is that you do away with stuff like welfare. And the version of Andrew Yang's version, I don't think was good enough to warrant, like, not allowing people to go on welfare.
You probably couldn't get it if you were a felon. Probably couldn't get it if you were an...
Yang said in Rogan interview he wanted to use UBI to get rid of welfare. Sure. And theoretically, I don't see a problem with replacing welfare with UBI. It's just that the UBI needs to be good enough to warrant the replacement of a bunch of other social programs. I don't think $1,000 a month is going to cut it in terms of cutting out welfare entirely. I don't think that's a good idea.
Illegal immigrant, and you probably have to be 18 or older.
What about non-citizen residents? I'm not sure. You'd have to definitely ask someone else who's more versed on UBI than myself.
In order to apply for it.
$1,000 won't even cover rent for a decent place usually? No, of course not.
There might be more stipulation.
As of right now, it's supposed to be supplemental, right? Someday, it would need to be probably the entirety of someone's income, or at least most of it, because at some point, there will be a time, people, where there just aren't enough jobs for people, period. And a lot of people just won't be able to support themselves, so you're going to have to figure out a way to handle that.
Might be less. But basically, that's UBI. You give everybody some money, and the idea is that it's going to solve a lot of problems. I guess reduce poverty, give people more buying power, maybe stimulate the economy, all that good stuff. Now, personally, I don't agree with UBI. I don't think it's something that's sustainable, at least not now.
Why? Why? That would be my question. Why do you think it's not sustainable? Do you have numbers in front of you that say, oh, this is not sustainable? Or is it just a feeling that you have because you've heard for years and years and years that, oh, the welfare system takes so much and we can't do anything? Oh, no. No, it's sustainable. All we would need to do is tax corporations in a way that they don't get away with paying zero taxes.
Maybe far off in the future, once we reach an age of abundance where...
We're in an age of abundance. Do people not know this? Guys, we are in an age of abundance. I know it might not feel like it, and it's not applicable to literally every product you want to buy, but not being able to go out and buy a PS5 right now because they're all sold out is not being in an age of abundance. 50% of the food that's produced in America is thrown out. 50%. There's enough food and resources and water where no one on the planet would have to be hungry. It's all about the logistics of getting it to people. We don't have a scarcity problem. We have an allotment problem. We have a problem where there are people like Jeff Bezos who has resources enough for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, and he's hoarding it all to himself. Meanwhile, you have people in poverty starving. We do not have a shortage of food and resources. We have a shortage of empathy that allows us to recognize where those resources should go to best serve humanity as a whole.
You have things like general AI.
Wing the Ultimate Nug with 10 bits. I ran the math ages ago and we could easily guarantee 40k UBI to every adult and child, immigrant, or citizen we wanted to, but that's assuming we could properly tax the rich and companies might pay slightly less wages because they don't need to pay as much, and a few other factors. Sure.
And you have robots that actually are doing the majority of people's work, and it actually is really difficult to get a job because robots are doing everything. And you've got like trillionaires that are running these big corporations.
RPG Clyde, instead of paying his workers better, Bezos starts a space program. Yeah.
Maybe at that point, you'd be
paging Elon Musk. Paging Elon Musk.
Yeah, it'll make sense. But even on like the basis of it, right? Like the idea that it's going to solve poverty, I'm a little dubious of that too, because I mean, this is just anecdotal evidence, but I've been poor, and I've been around a lot of people who have been poor, and none of them got out of poverty by just getting a whole bunch of money one day.
It's not about getting a whole bunch of money one day. It's about sustainable, continued assistance. It's not, here's $1,000 check. That's it. You're done. No, that's not going to help people. It's about every month you now have an extra 1,000 or however much it ends up being, someday. You get X amount of dollars every month to supplement your income. Yes, that would help people out of poverty. You absolute idiot. What are you talking about?
And there were some cases in which they got some money. Some of them ended up getting like a record deal for tens of thousands or a couple $100,000. Several of them had lawsuit settlements where they got hundreds of thousands, even I think up to 1.2 million in some cases.
Right. Giving people large sums of money all at once when they're not used to handling money effectively is not a good idea. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about giving people a relatively small amount of money every month to supplement their income. That's a very different beast. Wing the Ultimate Nug. Oh, you can't drive to interviews. Buy a car with all that money you don't have.
And that never solved it. That they'd have money for a couple of years, and then they'd be right back into poverty 5 or 10 years later.
They wouldn't be in poverty if they were continually getting a check monthly from the government in perpetuity. What don't you understand? Fu Manchu with 10 bits. We give hungry people food. They aren't hungry anymore. We give thirsty people water. They aren't thirsty anymore. We should give the poor money so they aren't poor anymore. Boomers. Something bootstraps. Yeah. It's silly. His argument here is basically building on that metaphor. Well, if I give someone who's starving a sandwich today, they're just going to be hungry again tomorrow. What's the point? Oh, well, that's the point, though. We make sure that they aren't hungry tomorrow by continually making sure they have at least the bare minimum to survive. Continually. So many social ills are the cause of poverty. Crime. Crime is a systemic problem caused by poverty. Not all crime, but a lot of crime is caused by that. Has anyone ever had their car broken into and all their stuff stolen, or their house broken into? That person didn't do it for fun. They probably did it because they needed money, whether that money was for something reasonable like food, or maybe someone's addicted to drugs and they break into your car for that reason, which we also need to deal with in terms of decriminalizing drugs and setting up places where people who have addictions are able to deal with those in a healthcare setting for free instead of demonizing it and saying you're going to go to jail if you get caught smoking meth or whatever. Like, we have a lot of problems in this country, but helping to mitigate poverty would help get us on the track to solving a lot of them.
I think that a better way to solve poverty, to just tackle that issue, is to really just teach people skills, right? Don't just give them money, but show them the process in which they can actually make money for themselves.
People know they can go get jobs. People know they can go get jobs. It's not like you're going to go up to a homeless person and be like, why don't you just get a job? And they go, oh, a job! Let me go put on my job hat. Get all the jobs. People know they can get jobs. There are often things that prevent them from doing so. If we're talking about homeless people, for instance, when you apply for some sort of position at any job, for one thing, you're going to have an interview. That interview is not going to go very well if you can't look presentable and you smell like you've been living outside for the past 6 months. Secondly, jobs require you to have a home address.
There's nothing funny
They
about
need
the
a home
tools of
address so
capitalism.
they can give tax information and stuff. Like, guys, and also phone numbers to keep in contact with you. So you need to have a cell phone, stuff
That's
like
right,
that.
Capitalistic propaganda.
It's just frustrating to no end that this guy's like, oh, people are homeless or poor. Don't they know they can get jobs? No shit. No shit. Potmancer, thank you for following, and Lonesome Troll with 10 bits. I went to a Christian private high school, so I had to
There's
take
nothing funny
a
about the
biblical
tools of
ethics class.
capitalism.
During class, I brought up that what Jesus teaches leans towards socialism, and he said what Jesus teaches is closer to capitalism. I got student of the year in that class still. Anyone who thinks Jesus, and again, I don't even think, like, I think Jesus was just a dude. I'm not Christian. I don't think he was, like, a god or anything. Jesus was not a capitalist. Jesus did not like capitalism, as far as I can read from the text, which I have read, unlike a lot of Christians. Cascadia93, these incels hit differently from the usual videos we watch. Yes, the flat earthers are silly and ridiculous. The Christians are dangerous in their collective overall opinion because of how many believe such problematic things. But in terms of individuals, in
That's
terms
right,
of single
capitalistic
persons,
propaganda.
incels really are the most dangerous people we watch on the internet, and it makes my skin crawl to see these videos. True. Jobs also requires IDs, education, and accounts, which also require homes
There's
and
nothing
addresses
funny
too.
about the tools of capitalism.
Wing the Ultimate Nug, honestly, you shouldn't have to work. We have the right to pursue happiness, not the right to have to work until we die. It's going to depend on when we're talking about. Sketch Beast, thanks you for following. I would agree that in a future that's like a Star Trek future where literally everything is provided, I would agree that people shouldn't have to work. And even today, I don't think people should all have to work equally. Like, if you are someone who can't do a lot of work for some sort of physical or mental issue, then that's completely fine. What's the thing? I'm not a Marxist, but what's the phrase? From each according to his abilities, to each acquiring to his needs, or something like that. That's basically how I feel on the subject. Like, people are still required to do most jobs. We can't just not have people work because then society would crumble as it currently stands. Someday, would it be great if we lived in a utopia where everyone can do whatever they want and pursue passions as opposed to just doing work? Yes. We're not at that place yet. Someday, we probably will be. I'd imagine automation will someday do away with the need for most jobs, but we're just not at that place right now. According to their needs. Yeah.
There's nothing funny about
That's
the tools of
communist speak? It
capitalism.
is. It is. As it turns out, communism actually has ideas that are pertinent to everyday life. Wing the Ultimate Nug. Yeah, but at can afford to have 3 months of a year. France does it. We did it in feudalism. But at can afford to have 3... I don't know what you're trying to say there.
Kind of goes with that old
I'm an anarcho-communist and anarcho-syndicalist. I have no idea. I have no idea what you would define my beliefs as, and I don't really care. Call me what you want.
saying that if you give a man a fish, he's only going to be able to eat for a day, but if you teach a man to fish, then he's going to be able to eat forever. Now, I've got some friends and some coworkers who are in favor of UBI, and I was talking to one of them recently, and they made an argument that was actually very compelling to me. So it goes something like this. If you look at the people...
We can afford to have 3 months of a year. France does it. We did it in feudalism. Like a 3-month vacation. I mean, it'd be nice. It would definitely have to be organized around that. Basically, you'd have to have people taking different parts of the year off at different times in order to maintain infrastructure of, like, how do I put this? Like, logistics for shipping and stuff is something that you need to maintain constantly to make sure there are food on the shelves. So you can't just have people from logistics, like, leaving for 3 months. You need someone else to sub in for them.
people who commit the most crime in this country, they're also the poorest people in this country. Okay, if you look at those demographics of specifically who they are, I'm not really going to say, but you can just, do some Googling and figure out who I'm talking about.
Is this guy unironically doing the FBI crime statistics thing? This guy's not a white dude. That's fucked up. Wind Chanter 1350. He's 1350ing. Yeah, I couldn't remember the numbers. Thank you. Wind Chanter with 10 bits. There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism, for example. Work yourself to death or starve in the streets. Oh, and I hope you aren't born diabetic, because then you're going to be spending most of your money on this liquid that costs less than $1 for us to make. Yeah.
Those two demographics line up. The people who are committing the most crime also tend to be the poorest people.
Right, because poverty leads to crime. And poverty is a systemic issue that is the result of a variety of historical and current socioeconomic factors that have adversely affected the African American community in ways that have not affected the white community in America.
And it's also kind of common sense, right? I mean, if you look at what would be considered a bad city, right? Or if you look at what would be considered the bad part of town, what are the two factors, or what are two of the factors? You tend to have high crime and low income. So you can make an argument that high crime and low income are related, right? You might even be able to make the argument that low income causes high crime.
Yes, because it does.
So the crux of his argument, and the part that kind of piqued my interest, was that if you were to basically redirect the money that we're spending on fighting crimes, that would be like state police, certainly federal police like FBI, ATF, DEA, all those different three-letter agencies, all the tax money that gets involved in the courts, all the tax money that gets involved in the prisons, because obviously when you send somebody off to prison, in a way they're almost getting not really UBI, but they're getting housing, right? And the old saying goes, when you go to jail or you go to prison, you get 3 hots and a cot.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Lonesome Troll with 10 bits. Poverty leads to poverty, and poverty is an impossible hurdle to get out of unless you win the lottery or by chance a boomer grandparent of yours leaves a metric ton of money in their will for your family. Even that doesn't directly lead to forever non-poverty for your family. Yeah. Yep. Poverty is incredibly difficult to get out of. Because it's very expensive to be poor. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever had, like, negative bank accounts, but if you do, they charge you, at least with, like, the bank I'm at, every day I'm in the negative for some reason. Like, and I've been poor, right? I've been poor. I'm doing okay right now, thanks to streaming and stuff, but I've been poor, and I understand what that's like. And if some bill comes out or something, and you go into the negative, every day after that, until you get money back in, they're charging me $30, right? So if today a bill comes out and I'm in the negative $12, well, today I only need $12 to get out of that hole, but tomorrow I'm going to need $42, and the day after that I'm gonna need $72, and it just keeps going up and up and up, and the problem just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then if you are again late on other bills, those bills have late fees and you got to pay more to do that. And let's say you can't afford to buy certain things and instead you're renting them, then you're putting money every month into something and you're not building any equity for yourself. Let's say you're renting an apartment or something instead of have a mortgage on a house. You're just throwing that money away every day and giving it to some landlord. Like, poverty perpetuates itself. It's not good. Gotta go prep for D&D, take some bits. Thanks, DM Trey. Hope your prep goes well.
All the costs associated with that, you basically redirect it into UBI. And he was saying that if you do all of this, you might actually end up breaking even. And it's kind of like killing two birds with one stone, right? You're getting rid of a lot of the crime. You're getting rid of a lot of the poverty.
Cascadia93, my bank is a credit union, is less predatory, but I go negative. They take $30 for every purchase I make. Well under. Yeah, that's a little better, but still. MMO Addicted with 10 bits. I never understood that.
nothing
That can
funny
happen
about
in
the
America.
tools of
Here, if you don't have
capitalism.
money, it'll bounce unless you have extra limit in your account, which is the interest, like at 6% yearly, and only for the days you're under 0. It's dependent on your bank. It's dependent. I really should just get a different bank. My bank's real bad about it, but...
all at the same time. And you end up doing it without having to go raid the bank accounts of a bunch of billionaires or
Raid the bank accounts of billionaires. I hate to break it to you, but they raided the profitability of their labor force to get there. No one has ever done enough work in their life to justify having $1 billion in the bank or $1 billion in assets, even if they aren't liquid. No one in the history of planet Earth has ever done enough to justify having that much wealth. Ever. You do not get that much money unless you have already pillaged from other people.
nothing funny about
And
the
we don't
tools
live
of
in a day where
capitalism.
people, go into your village and destroy people and take your goods. But what they do is... But what they do is they say, come and work for me. We're a multi-billion-dollar company. And we're going to pay you minimum wage. We're going to pay you way less than your time is actually worth. And you're not going to profit from any of it. We are going to pay you a fixed rate. It's going to be very low. It doesn't matter if you help provide great profitability for the company or not. You don't get any part of that. You are here, you work, you leave, and we can fire you whenever we want for absolutely no reason at all. That's predatory. Companies are predatory towards their workers who are non-union.
increase taxes on the middle class even more. Now,
MMO Addicted, I mean, doing shit like that is illegal here. The whole concept is breaking my brain, and I'm a filthy capitalist banker. Yeah.
I don't necessarily buy into this argument either, but it got me thinking about incels. Now, those of you who don't know incels or inceldom, it basically stands for involuntarily celibate. And it's basically dudes who can't get laid, right? Some of them, it goes a little bit deeper than that, because I've actually known a few guys who identified as incels.
TubeMan642, my sister and her husband got super lucky as his mother is giving them his family home and renovating it for them since she's moving in with his sister in Texas. That's very lucky.
There's nothing funny about the tools of
Winch
capitalism.
Chanter, can we do an episode about unions and how they function and are created? Maybe. I'm not the best person to do that. I feel like the Surfs or their other channels do that kind of thing a lot better because I don't have a ton of background information on that stuff. Like, I couldn't explain to you the intricacies of forming a union and how to do that and specific benefits they're going to bring to you other than, you know, collective bargaining and making sure that you have defense if you are unjustly fired, stuff like that, but I don't know the intricacies. You definitely have to talk to someone who knows more about it than myself.
And they tell me it's more about finding a girlfriend.
So he's not even an incel himself? Maybe. There are definitely incels who don't self-ascribe. Let me see what his other videos are. Bum, ba, bum, ba, bum, bum. Let me see if he's got any incel-y type stuff going on. Things are about to get edgy. Bum, 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 bum. I'm not sure. I guess let's hear what he has to say, and then we'll determine whether or not he's an incel or not.
Friend or finding love, something like that, than it is just getting laid. But basically, it's guys that have trouble with women, right? A lot of the time, they'll have had some rejection, like they try to ask a girl out, get her number, and it doesn't work. And you can make an argument that inceldom has played a role in a lot of tragic events as well. I can actually think of a handful of people just off the top of my head who were mass murderers and also self-identified incels. You've got Elliot Rodgers, you've got the Virginia Tech shooter, and you got Chris Mercer, Chris Harper.
He talks about incels. He's not an incel. Okay, that's good.
Something like that, who's another one, I think, in Oregon. And these guys, they all killed a bunch of innocent people, and they stated in their manifestos
There's nothing funny
that
about the tools of capitalism.
Felix Garner, thank you for subscribing.
Inceldom was a motivator, if not the main motivator, for their actions. And then if you start looking at things like ISIS recruitment and recruitment tactics that were used in the past to get people into things like Nazism and different movements, Inceldom plays a role in there too. But I think that the modern terrorists have been using it even more, because a very common tactic that ISIS recruiters would use to, get people to join the terrorist group is they'd say that, hey, you come over to Syria, you come over to wherever and fight for us, we'll get you a wife and we'll get you a girlfriend. And this
is actually true. A lot of right-wing groups, whether it's someone like ISIS or it's some far-right group in the United States, will often prey on insecure young men, often single insecure young men, though not always, by giving them an opportunity to become part of something bigger than themselves, give them a goal to aim at, whereas a lot of young men, I think, in the United States feel isolated and sort of just floating from place to place with any real goals, and also they prey on that insecurity of people who find themselves single and unable to make connections with other people and say, become part of our organization, you'll become part of something bigger, and hey, maybe we'll wind up in a situation where you can change things for the better and maybe get yourself a girlfriend or a wife or whatever. It's pretty insidious. It's pretty darn insidious.
It's actually...
Which, by the way, I think is another reason that, like, people like John Doyle, we cover John Doyle a lot.
Capitalistic propaganda.
John Doyle talks about, hold on, let me see what that was. Thank you to Twitchy Paws for following, welcome. I also think that's a reason that, like, John Doyle, who is a pretty far-right dude that we cover on this channel a lot, he is anti-pornography, right? He tells his audience, if you watch porn, that is degenerate. Do not masturbate. You are not supposed to do that. That is sick and wrong. And other organizations have done this in the past, too. It's basically to further the frustration of the young men that you were trying to court and turn extremist, right? You end up with a lot of... How do I put this?
There's nothing
You end
funny
up with a
about
lot
the
of
tools
young
of
men
capitalism.
who are not thinking clearly because they have certain things on their mind and they cannot get relief from them. It's an interesting but common tactic amongst groups like this. Windchanter, John Doyle needs to go serve in the military. He would fit right in.
Convinced a lot of people, especially in the West, to go over and join ISIS.
Blue balls, brown shirts. Yeah.
Right? So that they could get a wife. And obviously, if you're
Jake calls it coom brain. Yeah, I've said that before too. I think I said that yesterday, but it grosses me out, so.
the type of person who is considering joining ISIS or any type of, hate group, terrorist group, whatever you want to call it, just so that you can get a girlfriend, there's obviously some inceldom at play there, right? I mean, if that's what really gets you to sign the contract, you're probably not having much luck with girls in your region, right? You're probably not able to just go down the street and get a girlfriend like so many other guys can. So this got me thinking, if an argument for UBI, if one of the best arguments for...
Is he gonna say some dumb shit like, well then why don't we just force a bunch of women to be in relationships with incels? That's like taxing rich people and giving it to the needy, right? No, it's not actually, because the money that has been taken from rich people via taxes is not a sentient being that needs to consent to said transaction. Period. You're treating women as an object in this metaphor you're about to make, and it's pretty gross. Wing the Ultimate Nug with 100 bits. I hate the phrase, oh, you can go down the street and get a girl, like they're litter on the street. I guess, yeah. I don't think I've really heard a ton of people say that.
UBI is that you reduce crime. Couldn't you make the same argument for state-issued girlfriends?
No. Because you cannot coerce someone into relationships with other people that they don't want to be in. People have bodily autonomy, and you can't do that. So your comparison between UBI and this is not only stupid, but real gross.
or state-issued prostitutes, whatever it is.
I called it. I deal with these idiots all the time. I know what they're thinking. I'm like Will Graham in Red Dragon. I can see into the minds of the chuds. I just know what they're thinking.
That the incels are really looking for. Because think about it. This is a group of people.
There's nothing funny about the
That's a
tools of
good
capitalism.
point, chat. State-issued robot girlfriends. And you know what? If we were talking about literal objects like sex robots, I agree. That would be fine. I don't care. The issue here is that we're talking about women who, and I don't know who needs to hear this today, but fun fact, women are human beings. I know, wild, right? You can't just take another person and force them into a situation like that. We have a name for that. It's called slavery, and we pretty much decided that that was wrong a long time ago. Unless you're in
There's nothing funny
prison.
about the
Thanks,
tools of
13th
capitalism.
Amendment. Ding. So, yeah, this is a bad metaphor, and I hate this guy. State-sponsored blow-up dolls? I wouldn't care, sure. Of course, he sees
nothing
women as
funny about
objects.
the
He's a
tools of
programmer.
capitalism.
Only programmers will get this joke. I'm assuming object is a class of thing in coding that applies to certain things in the code. I don't know. MMO addicted with 10 bits. If they were true AIs with feelings and sentience, I'd be very against that. If we make some sentient like us, they deserve the same rights. I agree. I'm not talking about sentient robots. I'm talking about it's a real advanced blow-up doll.
Who are probably more susceptible to committing crime. I mean, there's obviously been mass shootings, and some people even consider it terrorist attacks committed by these groups of people. So why not have the state come in and to prevent that destruction, to prevent that death, to prevent that tragedy, just, send some prostitutes over, right? Send some...
Because women are human beings. Women are human beings.
I don't know, give them wives, something like that. You could implement that and maybe save some people. Now, obviously, this isn't something that you can realistically implement, okay? Because in America, we don't treat women like property. Really, in the rest of the civilized world, we don't treat women like property. And it would obviously be a violation of constitutional rights, and it's wrong on a moral level. Although,
And I don't think those things apply when we're talking about UBI and making sure that corporations and billionaires are taxed appropriately. They just aren't. Taxing someone, as much as the libertarians might want you to believe so, tax is not the same as slavery or theft. It isn't. It's fine. Please tax the rich. Way higher than they are right now.
I bet that there's some hardcore libertarians that would make the argument that forcing a woman into prostitution or forcing a woman to go date an incel or whatever is just as bad, if not worse, than forcing a rich guy to pay taxes.
It is worse. What are you talking about? You don't have to be a libertarian to be like, hey, what's worse? Literal slavery, sex slavery, or making sure Jeff Bezos pays taxes? One of those isn't even a bad thing. Hint, it's the Bezos one. Cascadian93, I hate Ayn Rand for knowing how to write. Oh, Ayn Rand, famous user of Social Security. Ayn Rand, who used Social Security, who isn't at all a huge hypocrite, who I hate.
Pay money
There's
to...
nothing funny about the tools of
Wind
capitalism.
Chanter with 10 bits, but Hannah, Daddy Bezos might put more, create less space rockets if we tax him. Can't have that.
a poor person. So that's something to consider as well. Maybe you could do it with sex robots, right? Maybe you could have Elon Musk or some other tech genius design.
Elon Musk is not a tech genius. He's kind of stupid, actually. Elon Musk is kind of a stupid guy who got very lucky with PayPal and was rich from birth because his family owned emerald mines in South Africa. He's not a genius. He's not even He's not an engineer, guys. How many times do I have to reiterate about this about Elon Musk? Elon Musk is not an engineer. He has never invented a single thing in his life outside of PayPal. And even then, he didn't really invent PayPal. He invented a website that was similar to PayPal that got bought early on by PayPal. Cascadia93, thank you for gifting a sub to Arcane Stamper Blackwell. Appreciate it.
Some sex robots, and then the government could start issuing them to people. And you know what? Maybe by the time that we have sex robots, we would also have reached that technological singularity, right? We'll have the AI, and we'll have lots of robots doing everybody's job, and then you could just give everybody UBI, right? So maybe that's the key to utopia.
I am aware of the sex robot sketch, and it is very funny, but I cannot play it.
Is just give everybody some free money and give everybody a sex robot. Yeah, that would be the key to utopia. But obviously, as the title says, this is nothing more than just a thought. So
it's a very stupid thought and a dumb comparison. I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert on UBI. I've said many times in this video I am not. You're going to have to talk to someone else to get informed about that, or at least peruse a Wikipedia article. But this guy's a moron. So, I don't know. All right, let's do a poll to see what's next. Hey, there's a link in the chat to my YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. I am very close to 2,500 subscribers. I may already be there. I haven't checked it in a few hours. I have no idea. I know I was very close, though. What's next? All right, vote in the poll for whatever you want to watch next. Robo A-cab. Mm-hmm.
There's nothing funny about the
Dude
tools
spanking
of
dudes with 10
capitalism.
bits. I like Hot Diggity Demon in this documentary, but I want to know your take. Let me look.
Kondabolu, the subject of which being Apu, a secondary character from the long-running animated sitcom The Simpsons, who runs a store called the Quickie Mart and
The whole Apu thing. I always feel conflicted about talking about stuff like this because, like, I'm not, you know, Indian American. I can't really comment on that from a personal perspective, right? But to me, it certainly seems like, so bear that in mind as I say this. This is just coming from a white person. To me, it does seem like Apu is a questionable stereotype, and the response to that, oh, vampires won. We'll watch vampires next. The response to that is always, well, everyone is a character on The Simpsons. And it's like, I mean, to an extent, but most of them don't really lean into racist stereotypes in the way that Apu does, right? And I know that over the 35 years The Simpsons has been on the air, that Apu has been made a much more complex
nothing funny about the
character.
tools of
I get that. But it doesn't change that the heart of the character was literally like a white guy doing a voice once in a table read that sounded... If you don't know the story behind Apu, I think it was Dan Azaria? What's his name? Whatever it is. Hank Azaria. It was Hank Azaria. Thank you, Surge619, for subscribing, and Andrew Dickerson. Please do the lost tapes I sent you. We have 2 vampire things, so I'm not sure. We'll decide. Maybe we'll flip a coin. But there was a table read where it was just Hank Azaria doing a voice, and on the thing it said convenience store clerk. It wasn't Apu yet. It was just convenience store clerk on the script. And he did an Indian voice. He did hello, welcome to, you know, I can't do accents, and that would be an offensive one to do anyway. So let me just stop myself right there. He did an Apu voice, which is a very stereotypical Indian American voice in a convenience store. Like, at the time, that's a racist thing to do. It is. And a lot of the stereotypes of Apu are pretty questionable, too. He'll often be like, oh, oh, by the many arms of Vishnu. Like, it's really fucked up. And again, I understand Apu has been expanded on as a character over the decades, for sure, but that's not what the character was, right? I don't know. Definitely take my word just as a random white person and listen to some other Indian Americans to hear what they think about it, because I don't have the personal experience, you know. Ace Lace for sure. Sorry for butchering that. I hate people referencing Apu as an Indian black person. Shit's not funny. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, your opinion means something and my opinion means nothing. So there was a good little documentary called The Problem with Apu that was pretty good. It talked about this. So I don't know. I don't know what to do with Apu in The Simpsons. Okay, so we have Lost Tapes, and then we have American... Nope, that's a different one. That's the Tanky. Where did the other vampire video go? I know I had to... We have America's Vampires, and then we have Lost Tapes. What do you guys want? Lost Tapes? Someone says Lost Tapes. I'm not going to do another poll for this one. I'll just look at the chat and see which one is coming out more. American Vampires or Lost Tapes? Lost Tapes. Lost Tapes. Lost Tapes. Okay. Lost Tapes wins. Alright, so we came up on vampires, and it is October, so we're going to watch a episode of Lost Tapes. It's about vampires. We watched a different vampire one previously, but I guess this is a different one about vampires? Cool. I'm gonna skip through the intro, though. No. March 12th, 2009.
In 2009 unearthed a skeleton that had a brick thrust into the mouth.
And probably evidence of a very real vampire remedy.
This may have been a local tradition to stop her vampiric attacks. Vampirism flourishes throughout history and continues today.
There have been those who psychologically feel the need to drink blood.
People do believe in real vampires today.
People believe in a lot of stupid things. That doesn't mean they're real.
They're creatures science refuses to question.
Authorities are now investigating what appears to be yet another incident related to the rash of mysterious murders and disappearances that have plagued the area.
For those who don't know, this is a show that Discovery did years ago, where the premise is there's a different creature every episode, and then there's this team of people. The team recycles people in and out all the time because they die sometimes, and they're sent to deal with supernatural stuff. So it's like a little fictional TV show about a team of people going to investigate different cryptids. This episode's a vampire.
The assault happened at about 2 a.m. outside this local convenience store. Surveillance footage shows a customer exit the store and almost immediately get attacked by an unknown assailant. We warn you, what you are about to see is disturbing. At this time, police are continuing their search for both victim and assailant.
About the time Discovery went weird. Discovery's always been weird. Quentin Reviews did a really good episode about, even before the Ancient Alien stuff, how all the Nazi stuff on the Discovery Channel used to, or on the, I guess that was the History Channel, not the Discovery Channel. I'll finish the story anyway, though. It was an interesting video Quentin did. If you're not subscribed to Quentin Reviews, check him out. He did a video on how a lot of the documentaries talking about Hitler on the History Channel were pretty, how do I put this? They really played into the Nazi propaganda of like, ooh, look how powerful the Nazis are. Look at their amazing technical achievements. And it's just like cringe in that way. I don't know.
The identity of the attacker remains unknown.
3 months later. This is earlier in the series before the task force was created. Okay.
Is that the before shot?
Yeah. Come on in. Yeah, come on around. I want to see you guys walking in through the front door, okay? This is it. The Redding family entering into their new lives. Go ahead, buddy.
This door won't open.
Just.
It's good acting. You think they told that kid, okay, you're going to try and open the door, and then you're going to get mad immediately when it doesn't. Like, I'm talking, you're going to be pissed for basically no reason.
Really, really put your shoulder into it. You can do it.
This house doesn't work.
No, it's
Oh,
okay.
It's fine. Just really give it everything you got.
It's very tricky.
I think the kid was doing better. Why don't you put him in there?
You want to try it?
Oh,
I'll
the
just put it
list.
on the list.
Yeah, the list. Oh,
How
yeah.
many things do we have on that list now?
I stopped counting at 462, all right?
After losing his job to economic downsizing, Dennis Redding moved his wife, Sarah, and their 9-year-old son, Eddie, into this admitted fixer-upper. He documented the renovations, his footage reflecting their determination to make the best of the situation. Their biggest fear at the time was Eddie adjusting after some potentially dangerous bouts with sleepwalking. But this family would soon discover there was much more to fear inside this old house. These are their tapes.
Are there vampires in the basement? Please let there be vampires in the basement.
This place is horrible, Ruggles. Girl.
Vampires in the attic. Okay, that's pretty similar. What is an attic if not the basement of the roof?
Hey, I thought you were supposed to be fixing up this room.
I hate this place.
Well, maybe if you'd unpack some of these boxes and put some stuff out.
It's creepy. I'm hearing weird noises. Hey, why'd you put that there?
Well, remember how you used to sleepwalk? It's a new place, and I wanted to make sure you were safe. You know, I want to be able to keep an eye on you.
Mom, I haven't done that since I was 8. I wanted to be treated like a big kid.
I know, and you are. Can we just have it up for me, just so I can sleep easy?
All right.
All right, how about a treat for you and Ruggles? Come on.
Ruggles is a terrible name for a stuffed animal. If your kid names your stuffed animal Ruggles or their stuffed animal Ruggles, in the middle of the night, take away that stuffed animal and try again with a new one.
Hey, careful with that. That was a nice gift from Grandma.
Why would the vampire
broadest
do this?
definition of a vampire is an entity or a person, living or dead, who takes your life force.
Among the great characteristics of vampirism is the vampire's need to feed on blood. This bloodlust is just the single most powerful image of the vampire.
I feel like this is obvious, but should I explain? Do I need to explain to everyone? Vampires are a myth and an allegory for the ruling class. It's about the aristocracy. The modern version would be rich people. The idea that there are powerful people above you who suck your blood and kill you in the process. They're taking the work that you do in killing you. That was the entire intent. That's why, like, vampires tend to be like counts. Like Count Dracula. He's part of the aristocracy. That's part of it. That's the point. Cascadia 93, that's a very Nosferatu-esque vampire. Lame. Give me Bob Pattinson. By the way, which is why, for those who don't know, 50 Shades of Grey is a rewritten fan fiction of Twilight. So Christian Grey is just Edward from Twilight, but a human version. And how do you turn a 100-year-old vampire into a human, but keep the same social dynamic? You turn him into a millionaire or a billionaire. Grey might be a billionaire. I haven't read 50 Shades.
In the Eastern Europe vampire cult, the vampires looked a lot like they looked in life. In folklore around the world, we find vampire entities who are more demonic. They're monstrous. Film and fiction has given us another kind of vampire, literally a corpse that gets up and walks.
A sort of creature of the night, lurking somewhere, and not only in our deepest fears, but somewhere on the margin between life and death.
Grey's worth 20 billion. Yeah, I'd probably let Christian Grey whip me and talk about his crack whore mother for $20 billion. Okay, I'm down. Antipodian Squid with 10 bits. The edition of Dracula I was required to have for university had Nosferatu on the cover, and it drives me absolutely bonkers every time I look at it. I mean, technically Nosferatu was made to be a Dracula movie. They just had to change the name because they couldn't get the rights from Bram Stoker's widow. Or estate. I guess I'm not sure if it was the widow or just the estate. E.L. James wasn't thinking that deeply. I don't think she was doing it consciously necessarily, although maybe she was, I don't know. But like, if you're thinking, I want to turn Edward into an equivalent as a human, and you want the same dynamic of someone very powerful against someone who's meek, then you get rich person. Like, that's the allegory, like, tracks whether she intended it or not.
It's a bad closet for monsters. You know, I don't think that there's any monsters in here, Chan. Is that what you heard? Is that it? You know what that is? That's probably just something like raccoons or something, just scurrying around up in the attic.
Can I sleep in your room now?
No, I don't think it's a good idea. I think you're getting a little old for...
Maybe just tonight you can stay in our room. Come on. Let's go to Mommy's room. All right. Let's do this.
There are several different animals in nature that feed on blood. Mosquitoes, ticks, leeches.
The vampire bat is, of course, one of the very few animals on Earth that actually can live on blood and derive its primary nutrition and calories from blood. Although we associate them with feeding on human blood, of course, they're actually evolved to feed on the blood of hoofed animals.
Cascadia93 will say the actors aren't half bad. Gotta love that Discovery budget. Oh god, I think they're so bad. They're so bad.
In the kind of classic Dracula movies, you see large canines. But in some other movies, like Nosferatu, you see very sharp, long incisors. Vampire bats, they actually have both. They have long canines and long incisors. They will take the long shearing.
Have you guys seen the movie? I think it's called Shadow of the Vampire. It's a fictional retelling of the production of Nosferatu, but the twist is, in the making of Nosferatu, the guy who plays Nosferatu, Max Schreck, played by Willem Dafoe in the movie, is an actual vampire, and it's them on set trying to deal with making a movie with the main star being a vampire. It's a pretty good movie.
Canines to shear the hair off the surface, and then they'll use those sharp incisors to puncture the skin. Vampire bats
will drink half their weight in blood in a 20-minute feeding if they're able to.
Ruggles.
Oh my god, the vampire took Ruggles!
Ruggles?
Hashtag justice for Ruggles. Why? Why does the vampire want a stuffed animal? Maybe he's just lonely, okay? Maybe this is gonna be heartwarming after all.
Are you down there? Ruggles.
Ugh. Man, this place is worse than I thought. It's just never ending.
Max Schreck, isn't that one of the villains from Batman Returns? It is. They named that character from Batman Returns after the actor Max Schreck, who played Nosferatu in Nosferatu. Fun fact.
Dennis, I'm really worried about Eddie.
Yeah. What's new?
Dennis!
What?
There's nothing funny about the tools of
Look
capitalism.
what he...
If you haven't seen it, What We Do in the Shadows is hilarious. True. Both the show and the movie are quite good. Watch the movie first, though. The movie came first.
He did to Ruggles.
Stuffed
Babe,
toys
this is
anyway.
not normal. This and last night, something
Look,
is
last
not right
night,
with him.
no, last night was just a bad dream. It's just that he's in this new place, all right? And there's a lot of stuff going on.
Why is he filming her during this conversation?
It's gonna be okay, all right? I'm gonna include him in everything that I do around here, okay? I remember fixing things with my dad and I loved it. It was great. I promise you, we're gonna be so close at the end of this.
This is how I act. I just sound so genuine. We're just gonna do the thing. We're gonna buck up and we're gonna get the kid to fix some stuff and it's gonna be great. This is me acting. Aren't I good?
Hey, Mr. Squirrel. Was that you making all that noise last night?
Did you take Ruggles? You squirrely bitch! I will end you!
Do you know where Ruggles is? Hey, where are you going? Ruggles, are you down here?
Okay, let's see what we find on the old snake cam. Alright, let's see.
Who are you?
You scared the crap out of me.
What are you doing?
Trying to get rid of your vermin.
What's vermin?
Vermin's like squirrels or raccoons or rats or any kind of animal that comes and gets in your house. And thing is, they carry diseases and they can make you sick. So we want to get them out of here before they do that. This is my snare pole. Now, see this end here?
Something's gonna pull it in. This is so predictable. Still waiting on Hannah and Jake's Christian movie script to be optioned.
This end goes around their neck. And what happens is I sneak up on them, and when I have this around their neck, I pull. Huh?
What was that?
You hear that? That's them. Oh, hey, listen, give me some space, okay? I'm gotta get this while I hear them right there, all right? So maybe go find your mom or dad, okay? Thanks.
Okay.
All right, you. Let's see. Come on.
I would bet a decent amount of money that the pole's gonna get sucked into the wall. Something's gonna pull on it from the other side and pull it in.
Okay, let's see what we got here. Whoa, what a mess. What
if you were an exterminator, you'd just be like, oh, it's a nest. Something made a nest. It looks like a rat nest.
Come out, wherever you are. What the hell?
Yes. Yes, please. Pull him into the wall. Cool.
All right, that's cool. Eddie, watch out. Just back up a little bit, honey.
No. Hey, Eddie. You want to give it a try?
Yeah.
All right.
Did the parents not question where the exterminator went? I'd be like, wow, there was an exterminator here earlier, and they didn't actually come and talk to me when they were done. Or bill me. And now there's a giant hole in my drywall. What happened? Jouster's End with 10 bits. I remember this episode as a kid. It scared the crap out of me. Is it just as scary now?
Are you gonna take that? Now, hold on.
Just be careful, babe.
I want to get this on the...
Do you want the cringy vampire documentary you were in? Oh, God. Maybe. I don't want to be mean about it.
camera here. Are you ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Come on, you can do it. Hit it.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Look at that. See? It's fun. When you're dealing with electricity, Eddie, you got to be really, really careful because if you...
Dad! Dad! It's not funny. What is going on?
There's nothing funny about the tools of
I wish I had a dad who was fun and not awful. That would have been nice. MMO addicted. Yay, free extermination! And yeah, it scared me since it's jumpy, but I've not slept in like 20 hours, so that's part of it. This is just stupid now. When was it not? Okay.
Having a little bit of fun.
Did the exterminator come back?
Back? I didn't know he left. His truck's been here all day.
Huh. Well,
A man has
maybe you should
fallen into
find
the
him.
wall in Lego City.
All right.
What?
Okay, I'll go check up in the attic.
Watch out for raccoons.
Okay. Eddie, go check the basement.
Basement?
Yeah, the basement.
There may be some natural medical explanations to explain at least some vampire cases, especially from earlier times when people's understanding of disease and illness was very limited.
The paleness of tuberculosis, the coughing up of blood were symptoms that could easily be equated with traditional vampirism. And sometimes when the outbreak reached hysterical proportions, there would be
I don't know the Lego City meme.
a popular movement to dig up a corpse. You might find, due to just simple decomposition, blood in the mouth of a corpse because the gases had forced blood upward. And this would be interpreted as...
A man has fallen for a man in Lego City.
God.
proof that the corpse was a vampire.
We fear vampires because we fear the dark. We fear the unknown. We fear the superstitious side of our nature and the horror of living forever without our soul.
Mister? Where are you?
Perfect.
Oh! My camera.
Hold on, I'm trying to get a link.
A man has found to the river in Litty City. Start the new city. Build the helicopter. And wreck the helicopter.
Jesus Christ. Windchanter with 10 bits. I want to make a movie, Jesus versus Vampires. You think it has a chance of getting made? Isn't that already a thing? Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter. It's already a movie. It's been done. Loaded Bible? Sounds like a bootleg version of the Bible Reloaded.
Hello? Mister? Mister? Are you alright?
Mommy's coming! What is the matter? He's coming!
Hurry, Mama, forward! Hurry!
That's a terrible vampire outfit. Quick, throw the kid to distract it.
The Redding family bravely managed to escape their encounter. The
Oh,
body
lame.
of exterminator Stan Polanski was recovered, mysteriously drained of blood. Police conducted a thorough search of the house, and though the mysterious nests were located, no unknown creatures were found. Months later, similar attacks were reported in a mining village 60 miles north. These new reports prompted a reinvestigation of the Redding case to determine if these events are isolated phenomena or if they live among us.
This show is stupid. I'm sure we'll do more of that sometime later in October. What else do we have queued up? I'll save this vampire thing for another day, because we just did vampires. Someone's pet crab eating a noodle. Eating noodles.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Antipodian's good with 10 bits. There's an imposter among us. Turns out it's a vampire. Ugh. Crab mandibles creep me out. I don't know why.
I was definitely a vampire in the past life, because after all, vampires have more fun.
I gotta skip over because of the music.
I think vampires have chosen to turn their backs on like shell suit society. They don't want to have anything to do it, and they say, sod this for a game of laughs. I'm going to
You're
find
at 120,
food for
and then there's a
myself
vampire
on my
hunter at
own.
1735.
I think vampires have chosen to turn their backs on like shell suit society. They don't want to have anything to do it, and they say, sod this for a game of laughs. I'm going to find food for myself on my own.
I think you showed me that before at some point. I don't remember when, but I feel like you maybe sent this to me. And they said there's a vampire hunter at 1735. That's good.
It's quite a nice atmosphere to be in because you feel quite safe. There are not too many vampire hunters here tonight.
My name is Major Lewis of the SVS. That's the Special Vampire Service. Who stakes wins. And I'm here representing Her Majesty's government to wipe out this vampire vermin.
It was quite weird to actually see somebody turn up as a vampire hunter, particularly when there was probably 1,699 vampires there, and he was rather outnumbered.
I'm not well paid, but I do it for the love of the job. I guess I like the sight of blood, especially when it's vampires.
That's fun. That's fun. What else can we do? What's this
There's nothing
tanky
funny
doing?
about the tools of capitalism.
Wing the Ultimate Nug, did he say vampire burglar? I feel like that might be an interesting comic. I didn't hear. Oh, Jesus Christ. Let's do a stupid tanky to close off the stream. So this individual, I guess, is a tanky, and here we have American reacts to North Korean media. I would hope that even if someone is a tanky, although I have very, very little respect for tankies, I would hope that nonetheless they don't actually fall for North Korean propaganda. But let's see, maybe I'll be disappointed.
That is Kim Il-sung hugging with open arms Deng Xiaoping. It really does warm the heart when you see how far these two
It's kind of funny that the subtitles are in Korean automatically.
countries have gone together. What is going on, comrades? This is Bay Area 415, and before we get into some DPRK videos, I just have a few updates. First off,
this one is not Doomcock, no. Mitchell Drummer, hey Hannah, can we put Freedom tunes on the next Chud Watch? They make short Chud animations.
Tom Woods.
Okay, sure.
I really have to show these statistics on how fast we are actually growing here and how amazing the support has been over the past few weeks. And I have nothing but thanks for you all, comrades. You guys have made this such a great experience for me starting this channel and everything. And these videos really do take a lot of work and research from me and the team, but you all make it all worth it. And I really do appreciate every single kind comment and engagement I get from you all, comrades. So thank you. Special shout out to Daniel Drumble, who said that we are his favorite underrated YouTube channel while speaking to a reporter from CGTN, Jingjing Li. And he's been an awesome person to engage with for all these ideas related to China and everything. So if you haven't, go ahead and subscribe to him for some great content. Link to his channel is down in the description. However, despite our rapid growth, I did notice several funky changes happening to our subscriber count, along with several comments saying that people have been unsubscribed. Also, there's still an overwhelming majority that watch these videos and haven't subscribed yet. So if you can take a second to just click that subscribe button and that bell, we would all appreciate it here, comrades. With all that said now, today we're gonna watch some Democratic People's Republic of Korea, or DPRK media. As we all know, the DPRK is a socialist country, surprise, and after years of intense
Cascadia 93, no comrade of mine.
fighting with the South and Western powers, Korea split into two. the capitalist South and the socialist North. What's important to know is that the peace treaty signed between these two countries is just a truce, and they are being constantly threatened and harassed with invasions and nuclear annihilation. In fact, there's this great documentary called The Propaganda Game, where several citizens attest that if it wasn't for the DPRK's nuclear capabilities, the West may have already invaded the country, and several point to Libya and Iraq as examples for countries that don't have nuclear capabilities.
Imperialists are still, they didn't throw away their policy, but sanctioning, stifling ours.
항시적인 핵전쟁의 불구름이 떠돌고 있습니다.
We are always on the verge of nuclear war. The U.S. is allowed to have the highest amount of nuclear weapons. We cannot afford to be unprotected.
We are forced. You can understand it when they are organizing a sort of big...
I don't like the amount of nukes that are on the planet either, and I understand that America's military might and nuclear arsenal have led the United States into a situation where they think they can push everyone around, and I agree that that's bad, but that doesn't make North Korea good, right? North Korea is a horrifying dictatorship. Just because America isn't good does not make North Korea good. You get that, right? Like, I can criticize America and its foreign policy for many, many things, but North Korea doesn't get a pass just because America has a destructive, horrifying foreign policy.
Campaign, military campaign, and execute military rehearsals every year in front of our nose.
So do you think if you did not have the nuclear weapon, you would have been invaded?
Most probably, yes.
We have to remember how devastating this war was for the Korean people up in the north, especially when we look at these stats over here. And don't even get me started on the genocidal massacres the South Korean government did during these times as well. Whether you support the DPRK or Juche philosophy or not, there are several important elements to understand about their culture and society, especially...
Hey, question. What about the concentration camps that North Korea is employing today? Any opinion on that? We gonna talk about that or no? Okay, cool.
Especially for Westerners who have been bombarded with absurd mainstream narratives, from unicorns living in North Korea, from believing Kim Jong-un is dead every single 2 weeks. By the way, I'm gonna make another recommendation.
The unicorn thing was based on some article out of North Korea or a satire thing, I don't remember. But that wasn't birthed out of nothing. It was based on some other thing that people were talking about. People in the West didn't literally believe there were unicorns in North Korea.
And highly recommend everybody watch this video titled "We Went to North Korea to Get a Haircut" by Boy Boy. Not only dispelling the myth that North Koreans can only get 13 state-approved haircuts, but also completely debunk...
Ben Shapiro said something. Hold on, let me take a look. Ben Shapiro says, the thing with homosexuality and transgenderism that it simply boils down to exerting control over your impulses. Like, say you have a hot sister, you fantasize about it, maybe you steal her underwear a couple times, but it goes no further than that. That's not real. That's not real. Ben Shapiro didn't say that. There's no way Ben Shapiro said that! I don't believe that's real. No way.
Radio Free Asia.
It is funny though.
Narratives, which are funded by the State Department, and comes out with outrageous news stories like these almost every single month. And I'm really happy that there's a outrageous news.
North Korean mother faces prison for saving your children from a house fire instead of portrait of Kim Jong-il. Like, I'm not going to say that there aren't a bunch of outlandish reports from North Korea, some of which are going to be false. I'm not saying that's not the case, especially considering this is the Daily Mail, which is a rag from my understanding. But that doesn't mean that everything we know about North Korea is fake, right? It's still a dictatorship where you need to toe the party line or horrifying consequences will happen to you. There's generational punishment in North Korea. Like, literally, if you commit a crime, against the state, you can be sent to a prison, and your children and your children's children will go and have to live out these prison sentences. It's disgusting. You cannot justify this. I will repeat, I can both criticize things the United States does and also recognize that North Korea is worse. Ugh.
News stories like these almost every single month, and I'm really happy that there's a video calling them out on this. With all that said now, let's jump into these videos. Our first video comes from Hong DPRK.
Cascadia93, North Korea kind of creates this issue themselves. When you tell no one anything, they assume everything. Yeah.
Daily. An absolutely amazing channel with great DPRK media clips. I highly recommend subscribing to them as well. This video actually is a documentary from loyal citizens of Pyongyang, which describes the horrible pressures the South Korean government puts on North Korean defectors to push the Orwellian narrative about the DPRK.
Oh my god. You're literally extolling North Korean propaganda, you idiot.
Threaten their family, their life.
You're literally saying, like, but just look, North Korea put out this video that says how good they are. And actually, all the people who say they've seen concentration camps or seen people, you know, taken to those concentration camps, they're just being pressured by South Korea. Yeah, your source on that's North Korea, dipshit. Jesus.
Livelihood.
Cascadia93. Oh, no, already read that one, sorry.
To the point where they must dance for this phony narrative or risk hostilities from the South Korean government, like being labeled a spy or even death. I kid you not, a North Korean defector and her son died in their apartment due to starvation, something that is constantly alleged in North Korea, but then inflicted onto these people. The South Korean government has extremely...
Let's take a look at that article. North Korean starves in Seoul. I probably spelled that wrong. Sorry, Seoul. She fled North Korea for a better life. She died with her young son in an apartment in Seoul. Seoul, South Korea. Hundreds of mourners took the street. Oh God, shut up.
They're believed to have starved to death.
Autoplay needs to be banned from the internet. Hundreds of mourners took to the streets of Seoul Saturday to remember a mother who fled poverty in North Korea, only to die of suspected starvation in her small apartment in South Korea. Mourners, mostly defectors themselves, marched with two symbolic empty caskets to the Blue House, South Korea's presidential office, eventually clashing with the police. "Bring back our Sung, okay?" they chanted, and demanded an apology from President Moon Jae-in himself for what they see as neglect of defectors' welfare. North Korea defector Han Sung Ok, 42, and her 6-year-old son Kim Dong-jin were found dead at the end of July. They were discovered after a water meter inspector went to check on them after Han failed to pay her bills for months and noticed a foul smell coming from the apartment, according to Korean police. The water inspector called the police, who found the two heavily decomposed bodies in an empty fridge, leading the police officer to note starvation as a suspected cause of death. According to a statement from Gwanak District Police, an autopsy was inconclusive as the bodies had decomposed. The case has become a lightning rod in South Korea, where some are arguing that the government is doing little for the thousands who have fled the repressive regime in North Korea. They want to see through investigation into Han and her son's death and policy changes to prevent further tragedies. So yeah, she's being mistreated in the way a lot of poor people are mistreated under capitalism. I agree. That's not good. That's very not good. And countries don't treat refugees well. That's something that also needs to be solved. But you need to understand that doesn't undo what North Korea is and how people starve there regularly as well. At higher numbers, okay? Doesn't change a thing. You can't point to a problem and say, well, this place has a problem too, and act as though that undoes all the documented horrific things that North Korea has and continues to do. You can't just say, oh, well, South Korea has problems too. I agree. People starving in a city where there's plenty of food, that's disgusting. I agree. And that's a capitalism problem. But it doesn't undo North Korea's problems.
The oppressive laws and expectations for these defectors.
Like, why would they defect in the first place if North Korea was so nice? If North Korea was a fantastic place to live, where people had all the food they wanted, why did they flee North Korea?
As we'll soon see here, that pushed them to the brink and should be considered a crime against humanity. Anyways, this video we'll react to is called DPRK Defector in South Korea. South Koreans are batshit crazy. They don't know the truth about the DPRK. Gotta love that title. Just to give a little background on this man in particular, he left the DPRK to work in China, while some misinformed him about going to South Korea with promises of making better money. But now he's stuck in South Korea. He was marked by the South Korean National Intelligence Service not only because he's a defector, but also because he said the following statements here.
그때는 뭐 그때 상황에서는 북이 뭐 당장 내일 모레 망한다 어찐다 뭐 이런 상황들이 막 되고 뭐 그냥 생각으로 내가 솔직하게 이야기할게요. 난 집단적으로 미쳤다고 생각했어요 그때 이 사람들. 왜냐하면 북에 대해서 너무도 모르니까. 이제다가 구를 좀 올렸지.
This is heavily edited. Do you not see the cuts?
그렇지 않다는 걸로 니들이 잘못 생각하고 있다. 그리고 김일성 장군은 어떤 사람인지 내가 그래서 북의 말이 너희들이 믿기 싫으면 믿지 마라. 그러면 중국이나 아니면 일본 놈들조차도 김일성 장군에 대해서는 올바로 썼다. 그놈들 간홍 기록이라는 게 있어요. 김일성 장군에 대해서 쓴 게. 근데 이거 맞아 와보니까 무슨 가짜 김일성이 뭐요. 일본 놈들 자체도 북의 김일성을 김일성 장군에 대해서 그대로 그렇게 다 썼거든. 대단한. 와서 느낀 점을 내가 이야기했지. 북에서 가르쳐준 게 딱 사실이었다고. 거짓말이 아니었다고.
남한에서 사실.
내가 느낀 게 그건 거예요. 북에서는 절대로 거짓말 안 한다. 왜냐? 생각해보자. 거짓말로 지나온 역사를 이렇게 쭉 돌이켜봐도 세계 어느 세계 역사를 우리 놓고 봐도 인민들한테 거짓말한 나라는 오래 못 갔어. 망해요. 인민들을 상대로 거짓말하면.
Wow. Wow. What?
Wow. This North Korean propaganda that was heavily edited. And I don't speak Korean either, by the way, so I can't even verify what the guy is actually saying based on the subtitles. But wow, isn't this North Korean propaganda from a North Korean YouTube channel that takes clips from North Korean state TV, isn't this so convincing? I'm not an idiot at all.
What powerful statements. I realized that what the North taught me about the South was true all along. Nations that have to lie to their people do not last. When you have historical facts and truth,
what historical facts? He just stated his opinion.
That are just right in front of your face, and they are completely manipulated or even ignored by an entire population, there is some serious problems going on in that society and in that culture. Again, the Propaganda Game documentary does an excellent job in showing that maybe it's not the DPRK who are brainwashed, but rather...
I'm sure most people are brainwashed in some ways depending on their country. I'd be the first one to tell you there are a ton of Americans who have a way shinier, healthier view of America than they probably should. But, like, that doesn't change the fact that North Korea's a dictatorship where people are put in fucking concentration camps. Jesus Christ. What was I gonna, the Propaganda Game, I think is the name of the thing he just said. The Propaganda Game. Permitted exclusive access to North Korea. Documentary filmmaker captures a small portion of life that is... Oh, I think I've seen this, actually. It's pretty interesting. I don't know why he's referencing that, though.
Westerners who are inundated with massive, outrageous stories to the point where knowledgeable people that come from this country, we are talking so much ignorant BS about. This man living in the South is going to call us batshit crazy. Also, it is just absolutely amazing the kind of pride that this man still has for Kim Il-sung. It's very critical to note how Kim Il-sung is an extremely important figure in shaping the DPRK to what it is today. From developing the Juche philosophy, which is a derivation of Marxist system, Leninism, that empowers individuals and people to fight for a revolution in an independent manner. Mega simplifying things, however, the philosophy is much deeper than that. To fiercely fight against Japanese colonialism and imperialism from the West. He was a revolutionary that passionately fought for his people, finding the Workers' Party of Korea that initiated so many land and economic reforms that helped the people in so many ways. Let's continue.
그 나라 인권은 세계에서 최고요.
Oh my god. Human rights in North Korea are the best in the world. You lost me. You lost me. No. No, they're not. They're not.
아니 미국 같은 나라 보라고.
Red fascism is still fascism. Hot take for the day. Yeah, no kidding.
아까도 우리 이야기했잖아. 미국 집앞 경찰 옆에서 사람 무서워서 경찰 옆을 다가가서 옆구리다 먼저 손을 총 뽑아낼 판인데.
Yeah, there's a problem with American policing. If you think North Koreans aren't afraid of North Korean cops if they step out of line in terms of what they consider to be socially acceptable in terms of, like, criticizing the government or, you know, rustling any feathers, you're out of your mind. You are out of your mind.
아니 자기 나라 인민이 미국 같은 거 자기 나라 사람이 설악에서 서지나 딱 총 발사해. 호수문에 손에 딱 총 있는 거에서 총 발사해서 죽여.
So the alternative, we should rather have a system where people get thrown in concentration camps, like in North Korea. You're nailing it. Good job, bud.
아니 어린 학생이 자기는 말을 듣지 않았다고 그것도 여학생인데 경찰이 어제 돼지 같은 경찰들이 서너 명이 달려서 두드려 패고 손을 뒤로 묶어가지고 그게 뭐 말라빠진 인거예요. 그리고 다른 나라 사람들은 붙잡아다가 대문자라고
serious? Oh wow! Please be still, my red beating communist heart.
This is fucking embarrassing. This is embarrassing that this credulous idiot is like, North Korean propaganda injected into my veins, daddy. No! Why do you... It's so frustrating.
Wow. Oh, calling American cops pigs. Oh, something for you anarchists here. Jeez. Love everything about what this guy says, man. What human rights does American attempt to uphold when we have cops that beat up everybody to a
You understand that criticizing America is not a defense of North Korea, right? It doesn't seem like you do, because every time any criticism potentially of North Korea might be breaching the surface, like, you're not even talking about the actual claims about North Korean, like, concentration camps, or the generational punishments, or the one-party system where people aren't allowed to really do elections. It's a dictatorship. It's a monarchical dictatorship, basically. And your only criticism or rebuff of these criticism is, America has policing problems. We do. I agree. It's a serious problem for people in the U.S. What does that have to do with North Korea? My god. MMO addicted with 10 bits. Oh god, and these are the kinds of people who scare me away from participating in a lot of lefty spaces. Shitbags like this give actual lefties a really bad name. They do, because then people go and they look up like, oh, what do communists believe, or what do leftists believe, or what do socialists believe, and then they get idiots like this who are like, oh, North Korea will also criticize the United States with me? Yes, daddy, feed me some propaganda. And everyone goes, oh god, lefties are weird. Rightfully so, based on this idiot. It's ridiculous. What a moron. Tanky logic over here is pretty lame, yeah.
Bloody pulp for reaching into their pockets or just looking suspicious. Also, the gigantic bigoted elements that are within our racist police forces in each municipality. Ooh, this guy is on point. I gotta calm myself down after that.
거기는 독재라고 말하잖아요. 프롤레타리아 독재라고, 인민 독재라고. 당장하게 바뀌잖아요. 헌법이 그렇게 그런데 법이 그렇게 됐다고 프롤레타리아 독재 국가예요. 프롤레타리아라는 게 우리 말하면 무산자들이
The workers dictate everything. Yes, The workers in North Korea definitely dictate everything, and not, I don't know, what's the name of the leader? The dictator? Weird, what a misnomer. I guess we shouldn't call them the dictator then. Oh wait, no, they are a dictator, and they're in complete control, and the workers don't really have a say in what's going on? Doesn't seem like the workers are in control then. MMO addicted. Yes, Daddy Kim. Please squeeze me harder with that boot.
독재란 소리예요. 인민들이 뭐 지금 우선 발전된 인민 독재라 해도 되지. 인민들이 한 독재, 자본가나 소수 이런 권력 부의 독점자들이 거기면서 배견할 수 없다 그 말이지. 야, 그런 당이에요. 원래 조선노동당이.
Thank you. Enough said. He said it so proudly too.
Listen to this guy in this North Korean propaganda. Boy, he sure does love North Korea. And coming from an unbiased source like North Korean state TV, we know it's true. Yay, North Korea! I want whatever this guy is smoking because it sounds divine.
It's a dictatorship? Of course it's a dictatorship. It's a dictatorship of the proletariat.
No.
The people, the workers. You cannot govern without the consent of the workers.
Governments do that shit all the time. All the time. All through human history.
As they dictate everything. This man... Oh, this is what happens when you get an education in North Korea. Oh, man.
Weirdly, I would agree with that statement. This is what happens when you get an education in North Korea.
This guy knows what's up. This is one of my favorite interviews involving this subject. This is just incredible. Anyways, our next video is called Free Housing in North Korea from University Professors in Pyongyang to Peasants on the Countryside. As you all know, I actually delayed this very video because there were no captions available for this video, so I wanted to give some special shoutouts to ACLEF from Discord for translating the video, along with that translated this video as well. If I missed your transcription for some reason, I really apologize, and I'll give you a special shoutout in my next video and Twitter.
进行了探访。8月9号，记者来到金日成综合大学副教授金宇璇的家中。
I hate these things where they go into houses or apartment buildings in Pyongyang and they're like, see, look at all the nice things we have. Like, yeah, you're probably a party member. You're a member of the government in some way, or you're working for a company in North Korea that's pretty well off because it cozies up to the government, so you're probably well off. But most people in North Korea don't live this way. And by the way, we also know that North Korea sets up like fake things for propaganda and for touristy stuff. So like they'll have a university where you have people just sitting around and they're not doing anything on their computers, and their computers from like early 2000s. Creepy stuff. So why wouldn't I also assume that this apartment is a setup? But even if it's not, I'm sure there are people in Pyongyang who have quite nice apartments. There are people in Pyongyang who work for the government relatively high up, and if you want to maintain a dictatorship, then the people with the levers of power, you make sure that they're living at least relatively well off. That doesn't mean the majority of the population is living that way, because they're not.
主人家非常热情，因为是工作日，家中只有主妇和88岁的老奶奶。客厅的正上方挂有朝鲜前领导人金日成。
Very normal and not at all creepy.
金正日的画像。厅内的装修颇为讲究，家具家电齐全，有沙发、电视机、音响、组合柜，角落里还放着一架钢琴，用白色的绣花罩布遮盖着。平壤近期天气炎热，主人家打开了空调，室内非常凉爽。
Now, unfortunately, I do not have any timestamps for these translations, but one of the most interesting statements made is as follows. Recently, Pyongyang's weather is very hot. The owner opened up the air conditioner. It's very cool in the room. The wife was very proud introducing the apartment to the reporter. In this house, there lives 4 people, his wife, his mother, and their recently married daughter. The house is 240 square meters, 5 rooms and a living room, including 3 beds, 1 book room, and 1 cloakroom. This is a huge apartment, and I know what everybody is thinking. This is just a privileged group of people that just have power. They're part of the elites and whatnot, so they have such special treatment. Others outside the capital and the countryside have it worse, right? Well...
平壤近郊为市民供给蔬菜的长泉蔬菜专业合作农场里，排列着成片整齐的小楼。陪同的朝方人士表示，这些都是当地农民的住宅。记者来到其中的一个小区，这里坐落着一栋栋蓝色屋顶的瓦房，房顶上安放着太阳能热水器，房前屋后种植有蔬菜，地上摆着收获的玉米。
Here's a translation. At Pyongyang's suburbs, the Changkwon Vegetable Professional Cooperation Farm that provides vegetables for the citizens line up a bunch of tiny, small buildings. Our DPRK companion said these are all the houses of the local farmers. The reporter came to one of the compounds. Here are a set of houses with blue ceilings. On top of the roof, there sits...
So your evidence that we're not talking about just an elite group of people living in Pyongyang is to show us more people who live in Pyongyang? It's not the most galaxy brain take I've ever heard.
A solar energy water heater. In front of the rear of the houses, there are plantations of vegetables. On the floor, there are grain corns. After the labor at the end of the day, when you come home, you can get a hot water bath. He says he does not envy the city people at all. So we see clearly that these privileges don't just apply to party elites, but all stratuses of people in the DPRK. It's important to note also that this newscast states that all the furniture, household electricity appliances, the solar energy water heater are all provided by the country, all free of charge. And free furnished housing isn't the only thing they have. They pay no taxes, free healthcare, education, and other perks as well. I would also like to add my personal story. When I was abroad in Asia, I actually went to a North Korean restaurant called Pyongyang, which was actually ran by the DPRK government. And I must say, contrary to a lot of Western critics, their service was incredible and on point, and their food was absolutely delicious.
Wait, where was this? Did he go to North Korea?
There's served PRK to a North Korean restaurant. To add my personal story, when I was abroad in Asia, I actually went to a North Korean restaurant called Pyongyang, which was actually ran by the DPRK government. And I must say, contrary to a lot of Western critics, their service was incredible and...
The restaurant is a propaganda tool, you idiot! You know, actually, I wasn't even in North Korea, but there was a restaurant run by the North Korean government, and it was actually really good. There's definitely no ulterior motives to having that restaurant there. It's definitely just to serve me food and not to extol the virtues of North Korea. This guy is an idiot.
On point, and their food was absolutely delicious.
That's the point!
I had a ton of slices of beef as well, which reminded me of like a Korean barbecue, for example, with whole cloves of garlic, kimchi, and other things. I would have loved to have some DPRK soju as well, but it was kind of early in the day, but I 100% regret it. By the way, if anybody's interested that I do a food review on these restaurants, let me know and I will add it to our itinerary when...
No, this is not a joke. He is really like this.
We are in China or in Vietnam. They have restaurants in both locations. All right, moving on. Our last video is titled, She and His Wife Attend Large Group Calisthenics and Art Performances in the DPRK.
MMO Addicted with 10 bits. It's a chain of party restaurants around Asia. They use it to earn a lot of money. The waitresses cannot leave it and are kept above the dining room in small rooms and are essentially slaves with their families kept hostage. They even force them to sing and dance, and it's disgusting. That sounds about right. I have a North Korean flag around here somewhere someone sent me. Ironically, obviously.
Wow. Jeez. Now this is just absolutely just a beautiful display of their alliances between China and the DPRK.
Oh my god, this guy's like about to come over this disgusting display of propaganda. It's so embarrassing. Dude, stop! Why are you doing this? You're making yourself look so ridiculous.
First off, their performances are absolutely stunning and awesome.
Not most incredulous, most credulous. Incredulous would mean he doesn't believe things. He's incredibly credulous in this. MMO Addicted with 10-bit small 3-minute video on these restaurants with some footage. Okay. Thank you. Let's take a small detour.
The food has been great. The music entertainment was astounding in terms of experiencing a bit of North Korean culture and what it's like. That was super cool.
North Korea's government owns and operates around 130 restaurants across Asia. The restaurants are called Pyongyang, named after the capital of North Korea. Serving North Korean food and liquor and featuring live music, the chain offers visitors a rare glimpse into the reclusive nation's culture.
The food is excellent, actually.
Tokyo-based video blogger Hiko Simon.
I would bet the food is good, by the way. The working conditions are probably disgusting, but the food is probably delicious.
Visited the Pyongyang restaurant in Dalian, China.
It looked...
Most cultures, pretty much, I'm not even going to say most, all cultures have very delicious foods in them.
Like fairly standard Korean food. It was, you know, various sort of kimchi, various sort of
Korean propaganda YouTube channel. Gross. Save this under tankies. I'd say that counts.
Soups and meats and so on. It wasn't that much to look at, but it really was very good. It was very tasty. The beer as well, I can tell, tasted a bit like Tsingtao. It was one of those sort of light Swedish kind of, you know, sort of beers that they make in China. But I had to say, I wasn't expecting much of the food. Again, you just have this idea that it's a resource poor country, that you'd expect the food to be a little bit austere or something.
See, that sounds so stupid to me. Why would you think that? You're not in North Korea as a citizen. You're in a chain restaurant run by the government that's trying to use these as a tool to A, make money, and B, make the country look good. Like, why would you think they're gonna give you tiny portions?
The waitstaff is made up of only young North Korean women. They serve food, perform pop songs and traditional Korean music, and chat with the diners.
The people who are serving your meal, they sit down at your table and you get to chat with them for a time and ask them about North Korea, and they ask about, you know, Japan and so on. And then they go up and they sing, they dance, they play multiple instruments. You know, I've never experienced anything like that at all, I suppose.
The Pyongyang restaurant chain generates about $10 million.
This is making me hungry, though. I'm very hungry.
For North Korea each year. But here's the catch. The restaurants are a direct violation of UN sanctions.
The United Nations Security Council has required any country in the world that's a member of the United Nations to enforce sanctions on North Korea to limit its access to foreign currency and to foreign products. And these are very wide-ranging sanctions, and they include things like allowing them to operate joint ventures or businesses in your country. So the United Nations has passed this resolution. It was agreed to by all the major countries, including China and the United States. But it's up to each individual country to enforce those sanctions. And so countries may, could choose to either look the other way or lightly enforce it or not enforce it at all.
Pyongyang employees are selected by the government and kept under a watchful eye.
The one thing that is interesting about these businesses is that what it requires North Korea to do is send its own people out into the world. In North Korea, you're not actually allowed to leave the country. That's why people call it a prison camp. You have to get special permission, and it's really hard to get, and almost no one gets to go abroad. And when they do go abroad, they're tightly sort of isolated and kept away.
I just appreciated the fact that sort of humanized the image of the country just a little bit, while at the same time still having all that thing that, the restaurant's there for hard currency for the regime, and the people there are not strictly free. They have minders. You know, they can go out in town with minders and so on. But basically, they live in a dorm attached to the restaurant. But it didn't feel like I was at a prison camp or being spied upon. As much as you might expect that to be, it actually surprised me at how normal it was, which, you know, and it was a pleasant evening, in spite of perhaps knowing what else is going on.
The restaurants made news in 2016 when a crew of 13 workers defected to South Korea. South Korea's foreign ministry has advised people to not dine in Pyongyang restaurants because the profits benefit the Kim regime. But with warming relations between North Korea and the rest of the world, these chains may become less taboo in the future.
Creepy stuff.
Thousands of people coordinating their every single movement that upholds their traditions and values. By the way, there's a
creepy,
absolutely hilarious video on North Koreans reacting to live K-pop performances. And
MMO Addicted with 10 bits. They supposedly can go into town with minders, but oddly, nearly no one does. I wonder why. Also, stories of sexual abuse to these women are chilling. Oh, I'm sure.
They just look astounded or not even interested at all.
Yeah, they haven't been exposed to pop music before from other countries, at least most of them, I'd imagine. Or, even if they do like it, they're not allowed to look like they like it because they'd probably get in trouble.
I mean, as hilarious as this is, you really have to wonder why they have a stoic reaction. And I wholeheartedly...
I don't wonder. It's because if they... For one thing, in Asia, you tend to have more reserved cultures in general. Compared to, like, the United States, obviously. Because America's very boisterous and loud and react very strongly. But also, like, yeah, if they're like, yay, South Korean pop music, they're gonna get thrown in a prison camp, and so are their children and their grandchildren.
I think that it's more in line with the fact that these performances, like K-pop, is a reflection of the degradation entertainment has in a capital.
Jesus Christ. The degradation of culture. I'm not a fan of K-pop, but there's nothing wrong with K-pop. Who cares? My God.
Society, and how needlessly misogynistic, extravagant, and exploitative these kinds of performances are. There is a great...
You literally just shilled for a restaurant that's basically using forced labor of people who are, like, locked away in a dorm room all the time, and you're like, oh, K-pop performances, these are... Jesus Christ. Ah!
Great video that actually speaks about the K-pop industry and how extremely exploitative it is for the singers to have their lives sold through incredibly life-controlling contracts, from not being able to text people to not even having a boyfriend or anything like that in these contracts. It's a very oppressive system that they have.
He's a hypocrite? Oh yeah, for sure.
There for K-pop. And one of the reasons why I don't really support the music genre. To compare, there's a bunch of speeches that speak about the status of women in South Korea from the North, and how exploitative the capitalist system is towards them, as the DPRK proudly upholds women's rights and celebrates their statuses constantly.
In Korea, respecting the personality of women has become a social ethos and virtue, and all their rights are realized by many laws, including the Socialist Constitution, the Law on Women's Rights, and the Socialist Labor Law, and by the state and social policies for women. In Korea, the women's equal right and political right are thoroughly ensured by law thanks to the Law on Sex Equality, promulgated by the great leader Kim Il-sung more than 70 years ago.
With that said, let's jump back into the Chinese alliance with the DPRK. Both of these countries have a rich and deep history, as China has been a critical component in their stability, and China contributed so many of their supplies and soldiers to fight alongside them during the Korean War, and is currently their largest export and import partner, despite the number of international sanctions on North Korea.
Yeah, they want a geographical buffer state. It's not complicated.
For all you that support the DPRK and not China, let me show you this clip and we can try to end it here.
邓小平曾任中国共产党中央委员。
MMO Addicted with 20 bits. Another fun fact, North Korea used to export slave labor across the world. Some of Trump brand hotels were built by North Korean slaves. Hell, around here in Poland, someone used to underbid our company by using North Korean slave labor. Gross.
That is Kim Il-sung hugging with open arms Deng Xiaoping. It really does warm the heart when you see how far these two countries have gone together and keep their alliances alive, from Mao to Deng Xiaoping to Xi Jinping. And it's incredibly important to see how their alliances and how China really does help the DPRK remain stable, as the DPRK really tries to be independent and fight on their own as well. Both countries...
Because China benefits because it creates a buffer state between them and Western ally states like South Korea, right? If it was all just like Korea and we didn't have North and South Korea, then you'd have a state, assuming that the Korean War went away, in which, again, it was more like South Korea than North Korea, then you would have a capitalist ally of the West butting right up against China, and they don't want it. They don't want that. They don't want that. I imagine they're upset enough about Japan and the fact that Japan and the U.S. are such close allies and all the military bases the U.S. has there, much less right in their backyard. It's beneficial to them to do so, as is the case with most alliances, obviously. People don't make alliances typically for no good reason. Although it would be nice to have just philosophical alliances where it's like, hey, we should be on the same team because we're all humans, but, you know. It's not the 24th century, and we're not in Starfleet, so... MMO Addicted with 10 bits. I was unfortunate enough to see it. Basically, people work for free and barely fed while their supervisor pockets a large part of the money to care for them, ostensibly, while feeding them scraps. Yeah, it's gross. Towing24, is this Doomcock from the Star Trek Mirror universe? That's the joke of the stream right there.
Countries really need to be respected in following their own path towards socialism and communism. Anyways, comrades, thank you so much for watching tonight. I want to say that my spirit is rallied with the North Korean people at this time.
I legit don't know if this guy's an idiot and he really, really believes the North Korean propaganda, or if he is an authoritarian who believes that pushing the North Korean party line is somehow beneficial to him. I don't know. It's hard to say. Either way, I'm sure we'll cover this guy again in the future. Maybe we'll start like I need to get more tankies. This guy in Caleb Maupin, I think is his name, is the other one I have. If I can get some more tankies on deck, then we can probably start Tanky Watch, and it'll be like Chud Watch, but it's tankies. So anyway, let's see if there's anyone I can raid. Borgor King, yeah.
There's like Pete Buttigieg making most
Will do, Bad Bunny.
of the posts, and then there's like one other guy.
So thanks everyone. It's been a fun stream. Had a lot of fun. It was good. I'll be back tomorrow to do more. I'm not sure what, but it'll be... Wait, no, tomorrow's Monday. We'll be doing Chud Watch tomorrow, so join me tomorrow for Chud Watch. Chat is valid. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
The Union